Stay more comfortable, more concealed, and in the stand longer with Osseo gear. Premium camouflage apparel created for bow hunters by bow hunters. Osseo's revolutionary patented camo patterns and innovative features are designed to keep whitetail bow hunters totally invisible and dead quiet. Elevate your game with Osseo. Visit asiogear.com and take 20% off your purchase with code TRUTH20. Mobile hunters, our buddies over at Tethered are always innovating to keep us more mobile and in the game when it counts. From the Tethered One Sticks, the Fast Pack, to the Ultra Lock saddle, Tethered is always designing to increase comfort and utility while reducing bulk, weight, and fiddle factor of mobile hunting gear. And now, they've outdone themselves yet again by creating the carbon fiber forged Predator CFX platform, the latest fully featured mobile saddle platform that raises the bar for what's possible in mobile hunting gear. Whether you're new to saddle hunting or an old tree climbing veteran, go to tetherednation.com for all your saddle hunting gear. Folks, welcome back to another episode of the Truth from the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast, and I got my good buddy on. You know him, you love him, Mr. Cody freaking DeQuisto. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, dude? I know we've been trying to hook up here these last few weeks, but it's been like a ping pong match here. But yeah, man, it's good to finally get on.
Ships passing in the night. People missed our old man talk before we started recording. We had a whole like bitching about our eyesight.
Let's not talk about that. Let's not. Oh man.
It's inevitable, right, man?
I'll tell you what, man. The recovery and training is something that I never experienced a lot until, like, now I can feel it.
Yeah. How old, I don't remember how old are you now?
35. 30.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So it's funny because I remember, like, it was around that age where it's like I recognized it, like where I was training. I was actually getting ready to go on like a Western hunt, and so I was doing a lot of running. I was running with like a 40-pound vest, and was doing like 5 miles with a 40-pound vest on, and getting after it pretty good, and was in really good shape. And I remember, like, after 35, like, it was almost like the next year, like, I felt it. It was like, oh, damn, man. I was like, shit doesn't work like don't work like it used to. You know what I mean? I was like, my recovery wasn't as good. Like, I just didn't feel as strong. Like, just little things like that. But like, you're right, dude. Like, the recovery is so. I mean, that's the only way I'm able to train as often as I do, man. It's like I got like a regimen of like I eat clean. I know you eat clean too. It's like I eat clean. I cold tub it. I make sure I get my lifts in. You know what I mean, and stuff like that. And it's like it's all regimented, and I do it at certain times. That way, I have the right amount of recovery in between and stuff like that. And it's like you got to do it if you want to stay like super active.
Yeah, the diet is a huge thing. It's a huge piece that a lot of people miss. That I've always been decent. I know that if I want to do anything, all I got to do is just dial that diet in. So whether I want to gain weight, lose weight, recover faster, whatever. Yeah, it doesn't help that I have not been getting the calories in, but it's weird though, being in a situation like where I don't know, man. It's like I feel like on one hand, I'm in the close to the best shape of my life, but on the other hand, it's like you don't feel as resilient. It's weird, like as far as the just I guess your fitness level. But
yeah, no, I feel you, dude, because I feel the same way. It's like I'm 10 years old. Oh, I'm 11 years old. I'm 46, right? So it's I'm probably in the best shape I've been in since I was probably in my like probably whenever I graduated high school, to be honest.
Yeah,
like after I was, like,
that's what I'm getting at.
Done wrestling and stuff like that. Whenever I was super active and competing all the time and shit, and then but it takes a lot more for me to be there. You know what I mean? Like I have to be very mindful about sleep is huge, man. Like once I started kind of figuring out how to sleep, and I even do it whenever I'm on hunting trips, like I'm early to bed, early to rise. It's like I don't go to bed late and get up early. It's like, I'll be on a trip hunting somewhere and get out of the woods at dark or whatever, come out, drive back to my trailer or whatever, and then it's like eat. And if I'm going to shower, grab a shower if there's one available. If not, wipe down or whatever, and then hop in the sack. And it's like I'm in bed by like 8:30.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely keeps you burning. A lot longer without crashing for sure.
Yeah, but so you've been on a whirlwind, dude. Speaking of like getting after it, you've been on the old road show, man. How's the road show been, dude?
It's been good. Yeah, it's been awesome. So we got done Well, it kicked off the beginning of this month, and I've been on the road pretty much all month. So we've had a show back to back weekends. I was out in Pennsylvania, Virginia. I went to Michigan. Yeah, we're back home now, and we got our finale event this Saturday here at the. I don't know when this is going to air, but yeah, this Saturday here at the Iowa Farm. So, yeah, I'm stoked, man. I'm stoked to be. I love doing it, but always when you're nearing the end, it's like, okay, all right, yeah, we're done,
Right.
and that's like always been. This show has always been the marker of like the season right around the corner. So, which is crazy, man. It's insane to think it's already.
Yeah.
I mean, the end of August. I mean, dude, I got buddies who are hunting this weekend. I think for opener, like Tennessee Velvet, and there's some guys out in South Carolina. So people are, it's.
Yeah, our Joe Miles, he's already out. Like those dudes in the Carolinas, those guys are already hunting. His boy actually killed a pretty good. His son actually killed a pretty good buck there. I want to say like 2 or 3 days ago, like opening day. I think
already
it was.
Dang.
Yeah, and I got buddies that are out, west chasing speed goats already. It's like so. It's time, It's which it seems crazy, man. It's like I don't know about you, but every year I always feel like it creeps up on me so fast. I'm like, oh shit, I'm not ready. You know what I mean? I'm like, I still thinking of all the stuff I need to do, and I'm like, man, I am not ready to go hunt quite yet, but I will.
Yeah, you get that. Well, you get that initial break-in phase, but
Yeah,
I don't know. I always usually it catches me by surprise because I'm always so busy in the summer usually. But as soon as I'll try and hold it off for as long as I can. Like I try to talk about it or not to get too fired up or like look at a lot of stuff because then I just get burned out real quick, or as far as not burned out, but like so I try to hold it off. But now is like the time where as soon as it starts, when the corn starts changing, is when like that I start to get fired up. So like right now we've gotten our first couple cooler mornings. Like they're starting, they're getting sprinkled in there. It's been just stupid hot, like disgusting,
oh my God,
disgustingly humid, and it's hard to get jacked up for deer hunting when it's warm like that. It just doesn't feel like fall to me, but yeah. So
we actually had some really nice weather. Like I want to say, I got up this morning and rucked and took the dog with me to get ready for a western hunt, and I want to say it was like 53 when I went outside this morning, and I was just like, cool. You get that little smell in the air, you know what I mean, where you're like, oh boy, it's about time to get rock. I was actually out close to your neck of the woods this past week. On Monday, I was in Milwaukee.
That's where I'm from,
yeah. So I was out there for work, and I dropped into a gym and did some rolling. The weather was beautiful. Milwaukee seemed like a super cool city, man. I was like, I kind of want to go back and check it out.
Yeah, it's cool. It's definitely. I mean, depending on what you're looking to do, man, there's definitely a cool vibe there. I miss it a lot. Because I'm in like rural Iowa now, and I'm not like horribly far. Where I moved was as far or as close as I could stay to home and family and stuff, but as far away as I needed to be to get that, the whitetail hunting that I was looking for. So I'm like 3.5 hours from Milwaukee, so I get there quite often. A bunch of my buddies still live back there, and but I don't have the amenities. Like, man, I don't have the food. Like, I'm a foodie, man. I love good food. I don't got shit here.
Right.
Like over there, dude, I could hop anywhere. I'm sure you're right outside of Philly, right? Like food is probably not an issue for you. Like anything you want, anywhere. Yeah. So that sucks. Growing up in the city, like having that luxury, I guess, or even to order a pizza. Like people around here don't know what ordering a pizza is. Like you can't order a pizza out here. Like
yeah.
Ain't nobody that delivers a pizza, and there's no pizza places close enough. So but or even getting like, dude, I'm Italian too, so growing up in a traditional Italian family too, like so hitting the bakeries and like like those good getting that like good authentic Italian food that you could pop over to a deli or something. Yeah, you ain't got that here.
Yeah. I didn't get to enjoy a ton of the city. I basically was at the hotel.
Gym the whole time.
I did go to the gym the one night, you
were competing though, right? So you're
no, I was there. I was there for
went
work.
And just okay. I got you.
Yeah, it was a work trip, and I just anytime I travel for work, it's
what
like
gym
I find
did you go? The Duke Rufus?
No, I went to Primal MKE. is what it's
Okay.
called.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really know much about them. My coach actually heard one of their guys, one of their coaches on a podcast, and they train very similarly to how we train. So he was like, oh, if you don't know anywhere to go out there, and he didn't have any friends in Milwaukee to send me to, he was like, go check that out and see how they train and see if there's anything that they do that's kind of interesting or cool that, maybe we'd want to think, like add to the class or whatever. Because we do a lot of like live games, like positional, but everything's kind of live and then build technique from there. And so it's a lot of playing games and stuff like that to kind of help kind of like learn the techniques and positions and stuff like that. And they do a lot of the same stuff. So it was cool. It was fun. Good rounds, but the weather was like, it was even just a little cooler being in Milwaukee. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right on the lake there,
yeah. So it was just like, it really kind of got me like jonesing for fall while I was there, because it was like cool enough to wear like a long sleeve shirt, like you could wear a flannel if you wanted to at night and stuff like that, But I was itching to get home though, man, because I hate to spend too much time away because I'm still shooting the struggle stick and planning to use that this year, and so it's like anytime I'm like away for a couple of days and I don't get to shoot for a couple of days, I always come home and I'm like, man, I'm going to forget how to shoot again. You know what I mean? It's going to be like starting all over. It never is, you know what I mean? But it's always kind of in the back of my mind. But, how's the struggle stick for you these days? You feeling good? Because I know you got a new one, dude, that's super dope.
Yeah, dude. I'm super excited about that one. Actually, I got it right behind me. Let me just grab it real quick.
Yeah, there you go.
It's because I gotta show you, man. It doesn't do it justice, man. On the obviously you can't see it so close, but it's so small, dude. So I had Steve. I've been on him for a little while about this, and he did it for me. He made it so it's a 53 inch. It's like a micro longbow, but everything's shrunk down in proportion too. So it's not like one of those full size risers with little limbs type bow. And I really just wanted to get those clearances back in the tree stand game, which was I think the part about the transition going to the traditional bow is the they're so big, man. Just get they're nice to carry because they're light and they're straight. They zip through the woods when you're holding them. When you start to try and draw them in a tree, especially in some tight cover, like you're getting screwed. So, but no, it's been awesome, man. It's shooting awesome. I got some crazy little micro arrows tuned for it. Nice. I'm excited to shoot. These are Valkyries. They're 3 mils.
Oh, nice.
So like with that tiny bow, I wanted the smallest arrow I could possibly get. I even, tuned the arrow to where it was as short as I could possibly get. Like I picked the spine weight that allowed me to keep stiffening it up and get that broadhead right at the shelf. So now I got this, not to mention it's a takedown too, so I can shove the damn thing in my pocket if I need to. Yeah. But I'm pumped, man. It's been going good. It's shooting good. I haven't been shooting as much as I probably should. I get out way more than I used to, but with the shows and traveling, like I do have it on me. A couple times I met up with some buddies and stuff, and we'll pull the target out just on the side of the road and start ripping some. But yeah, I'll start upping my shooting right now. Probably, I'm not doing any super early missions. Well, maybe September 15th. So I got a couple weeks yet.
Right. Nice. Yeah, I know when I was talking to Steve, like I'm eventually going to get one from Steve as well, and he was talking about the one he was building for you, and I was like,
"Oh, is he?"
Yeah, because he was getting ready. He was either starting to build it or he had started to build it, and because we were talking about what I wanted, and I was like, and it's funny because I was like, I feel like I want something shorter, I was like, for being in a tree. I love hunting on the ground. That's really what I wanted. I want to kill one in Kansas on the ground with a longbow. It's like my goal. It's a spot and stock one. But I was like, back home here, it's like a lot of my hunting's in a tree. I was like, so I want something shorter. And he was like, well, I'm building this one for Cody. He's like, I was like, yeah. I was like, I know Cody. And he was kind of describing it to me. And I was like, oh man, I was like, why don't you finish that one up and see how that goes? And maybe I'll just have you double up on that one.
Yeah, dude, but, it's sick.
So the one thing I did talk to him about was like a triple knock like system to where I could have like 2 different strings for 2 different poundages essentially. That way I could use like, do you have that same setup?
Yeah, so it's right here. So
nice.
You could probably see it closer now. I mean, because this is all this video podcast, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, duh, we're recording.
yeah.
But yeah, so anybody wants to look at that, it's cool, man. It's what he does. It's like I've never seen another longbow that had his knocking points, but now with, in traditional, it was just like to break the bow down and to actually, unstring it. But yeah,
Hmm.
he can make those like usable knocking points for your string. So even my bow last year that I got, I think we talked about that maybe, but I
Hmm.
sent it to him because I picked it up from a dude and I wanted to get like 3 more pounds out of it
Hmm.
because it was kind of lighter. And I sent it to him, and like inside of a week, he had the tips redone, and he actually added another. So that one had 3,
Hmm.
and so it went from like 53 to 48 to 44 or something like that, and it was
Right.
really cool. And yeah, so this one now I have 2 strings made for it. One is at 55 pounds, and then the other one would be probably just around 50, just over 50.
Hmm.
Um,
What do you shoot most often?
that the heavier one.
The heavier one.
To tell you the truth, I don't know if I'll use the lighter one much. I'm pretty strong, dude, so I don't feel like I'm overbowed. But
Hmm.
then again, I heard something one time, and it was something like, "Well, shoot like as far as what pounder should I shoot as heavy as you can." Which makes me think I should probably be shooting more weight, but I don't know. It just shoots so good, It's like it's
Right.
zipping, and I don't want to have something like crazy, crazy heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last year, I think I was sitting at 51 or 52 with that other bow,
Yeah.
and man, I shot him in front of the left leg, right through just front of the chest cavity, all the way, complete arrow, through back center or came out center mass the other side, like
Hmm.
51 pounds. I mean, these bows probably shoot like they're I
Right.
don't know they don't shoot fast. It's like,
Right. Yeah.
but
The
lethal.
51 pound. How close were you on that one?
That one was like 10 yards. So it was a close shot, but
Yeah.
man, those arrows just rip. And especially so like with so this one now is a little heavier. So this one's like 50. I was like, I just want a little bit, just a couple more pounds. But man, the arrows really, really slap the target good. And I've been
Right.
shooting, I don't shoot super far, but, um, I mean, 25 yards and in, like, I don't think pass through, there's going to be any
An
issue
issue.
whatsoever.
Right.
Um,
What's your
but
arrow setup? So you say we were shooting the Valkyries. What's your broadhead setup?
so right now, actually, so for the sake of tuning, I was actually messing around with, that dude's center pin system, which I
Okay.
never,
The
which
yeah,
I
yeah.
never
I know what you're talking
seen
about.
before.
Yeah.
But I was so in love with this arrow. Now, I actually have, I've always shot iron wills, so I have a buddy of mine who builds arrows. He's getting me, I think it might be ethics. It's some insert outsert that'll get me back to where I can shoot with that, shoot an iron will head, just a standard 150, or a 200 is what I've
Mhm.
shot in the past, which is what I want to be shooting. But I'll tell you what, man, the Valkyrie heads look, I mean, absolutely freaking carnage. So,
Yeah.
but right now I just have his center pin system in here. I got a couple stump heads. I got a couple field points. And I don't have my broadheads set yet, but I know I want this tune. This, like the weight
Right.
forward on this thing and the actual tune of this. I
Hmm.
think there's two. Let me see, what would it be? 275 up front,
Oh well. Okay.
and I'm
Yeah.
only shooting with the arrows only like 490 something.
Oh
So it's
wow.
light. It's
Yeah.
lighter.
Oh wow. That is
Uh,
light. That's
yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
yeah.
Because I think
Well,
mine are like 553. I think
yeah.
are
Which
what
is
mine are.
Yeah, that's like probably standard, maybe a little on the heavy side, or I don't know. A lot of guys are going pushing 6 or whatever. So I think I was shooting five. I had like 570 on that other long curve I had, but I went back a little bit, lightened it
Right.
up.
Nice. Yeah. The broadheads I ended up getting were I think they're the single bevel grizzly stick samurais. I think is what they were.
Okay,
I
I
think
think
that's
I've
what I
seen
picked
those.
up. Yeah, I got those like on a recommendation from Jared Scheffler. I talked to him about what he
Yeah.
liked and stuff like that, and he was like, "Yeah, you might want to try those." And there was another grizzly stick version that he had kind of recommended to me too. That they have a 200 grain, but it's in an XL, like in a larger format, and he said they're supposed to have one soon. It's a 200 grain. That's like their regular like diameter, like sized one.
Okay.
But it hasn't come out yet. Cause I don't like shooting super big broadheads. I just feel like I start to get, I mean, it's probably not as big of an issue with a longbow because I'm not shooting long distances, but you just start to get planing and just like, I've just had issues with bigger, like profiles, you know?
Yeah.
Even with my compound, it's like I shoot like just inch broadheads just because they fly really well.
I've always been the same way, man. Just a small, nice, sharp, small head. I shot slick tricks for like my entire life. Mm-hmm. The standard 4-blade slick trick, like, dude, those are so mean, and I've killed so many deer with those.
Yeah.
Whack 'em. The old man always used whack 'em. Like when I was younger, that's what he was using, and I wanted to like do my own thing. So I found the head that was like the closest to whack 'em, you know, but it was like, it was the same and I was thing. Like, well, I shoot slick trick, you know? Well, and he's like, oh, I like 3 blades. And I'm like, no, this 4 blades where it's at. So I shot that. But it was mean, man. So tiny. Like, and everybody's like, well, don't you want a bigger hole? And I'm like, no, I just want something just that'll shoot this fucking like right where I'm, you know, like you said, no issues of shooting and just zip through them, man. Just wreck them. So
I used, last year was the first year I used them. I used Tooth of the Arrowheads last year. And
I've heard good things about those.
Yeah. You know, it's like, I don't work with those guys at all or anything like that. It was just, I picked it because I was struggling finding a head that flew really well for me. And I got their 1 inch, their solid heads, not the vented. And just cause I didn't want the noise, I like just solid heads. And I ended up putting that arrow through both shoulders of the buck I shot in Pennsylvania. I sharpened that blade and I put it through both shoulders of the buck I shot in Kansas. Yeah. So that thing went through 4 shoulder blades. I sharpened it and it's back in the quiver and it's going to Idaho. You know, it's like, it's the lucky head.
Yeah, I've heard good things about those. I used to do a lot of shooting same head, not even sharpen it really, but
yeah.
They're so I don't know, man. You find a good one.
Once you find a setup, man, it's like just, you know, it's like if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm definitely definitely that way for sure. Now, getting into a few different bows, like I went from like shooting the same bow forever, never changing arrow setup, never changing bow, like, you know, just really going through 1 to 2 arrows. Like maybe if I shoot it and it gets messed up, otherwise I'd reuse it, just toss a new slick trick on. But, you know, from the compound world now, all of a sudden I'm shooting traditional and I've had like 3 bows in 3 years, you know, so it's different. Like I'm almost forced to have to retune, but once I get that shit tuned and once that arrow is like for that bow, I'm like, nope, I don't want to mess with it. Like that's ultimately where I want to be, is not messing with anything. So when I find the head, the arrow, all that stuff, I'm just like, all right, there's no, you don't got to think about it, you know? So
yeah, dialed in. I mean, there's something to be said for that, man. It's like you do all that work, you know, to try to put yourself in a good position, you know, and when you finally do, the last thing you want to be doing is wondering if when you go to take the shot, if shit's going to work or not. you know what I mean? Like
definitely can't be wondering that in this realm now. Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's because I've had issues like where it's like I had bows in the past where it's like I just struggled to get them to tune. I had struggled to get my broadheads to fly, and like the season was there, and it's like I was going hunting, and I was like, it's, you know, I'm like, it's as close as I can get it. You know what I mean? It's like it was one of those things, and I mean, it worked out. I didn't wound anything or whatever.
Without that confidence, though, you're just
that's like just it.
Yeah,
and the shot that I took that year, it was close. Fortunately, it wasn't like I was stretching my bounds of capability or anything like that. You know what I mean? It was a close shot, but yeah, it was one of those things going into the season. I was just like, man, I hope everything's really close. You know, because I just don't this set. And then literally like the next year, I tried to get it to tune again, and I think it was the week before the season, and I was just like, F this thing. And I went to the shop and I bought a new bow. I was like, I'm just not playing with it anymore.
Yeah,
you know?
Probably just wasn't meant to be, man.
Yeah. But what was funny, man, is I was talking to so last year after I was coming home from Kansas, I was talking to Jake Hofer or whatever, and he had listened to the podcast we did last year. And I don't know if that you and I did. Yeah, we did. Yeah. It was almost probably like almost the same exact time. It was right around like the road show time for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Because I did a podcast with him like after I got back from Kansas and stuff, and I didn't even remember it, but he said he said, he's like, it was really, because he's like, it was really interesting listening to you and Cody's conversation. He's like, because it's almost like you and Cody, or and Cody specifically, was kind of predicting your season. Like we almost
Yours?
like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you know what I mean? Because we were talking a lot about,
yeah,
what I wanted to kind of accomplish out there. And like, we were talking about just when you get real close to big deer, how they're
yeah.
different, you know what I mean? And like that experience when you get a big framey deer. And it was just, everything we talked about kind of came to fruition. So it was really, I didn't even remember it until he said it. I was like, oh, well,
Yeah.
I was like, you're right.
I do
which is
remember
kind of
talking about the mature deer too.
yeah.
Now that you mention that.
Yeah. So maybe you were like a little bit of good luck or something. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
man. Hopefully we can get some more of that. This year, and we both
That's
put
right,
on
man.
a couple more giants.
That's right.
Um,
How was your season last year?
it was awesome, man. It was
Yeah.
killer. I had man, it went. I put down a stud early.
Hmm.
And then I spent kind of the rest of the year looking for something like really big.
Hmm.
Passed up some good ones. The farm I spent majority of the time on and placed like middle of that rut zone.
Hmm.
There was an old like bully there that was, man, I think he probably busted up just 80% of the deer in the entire area. Like it was one of those, it was a drought year. It was one of those years where just deer were busted up, man. There wasn't a
Hmm.
whole lot, slim pickings. And I, between bouncing between there, a piece of public in Wisconsin, that I frequent every year just to kind of build more knowledge on, a couple other pieces. Like I was in the game a lot, and there was actually one really big one that I was hunting that I had, I had him at 30 yards probably
Hmm.
three times.
Wow.
And I was just like, in my mind, I was like, well, it's just a matter of time before I get him at 20. And
Hmm.
that's when I'm going to smoke him, or when I get him inside of 10, so, and it was this big old bruiser buck that was held up on a hedgerow in a river, right on the alongside of a river. Real shit access, sucks. You try and get in there, you bust everything out. And then, uh,
Is this the Wisconsin piece?
well, this is actually in Illinois,
Oh,
but
okay.
the Wisconsin piece is on a river too, because I know we talked about that
Yeah, yeah.
last
That's
year.
what made me think about it.
And they're both. It's so crazy to look at because they're both river pieces. They're both two total different ends of the spectrum. One is very flat. One is mediocre sized river. One is very ridgy and a giant, like the Mississippi. It was just huge. So there's a lot of similarities with access though, and how they how those bucks use that. The bucks love the
Hmm.
river, and they can sneak up there, and they even swim across the river, come up top and bed. But in this particular one is flatter, and he had this area so locked down that he wasn't leaving, even as the rut came in. Like you think like, ah, shit, he's gonna disappear. Well, he was just holding it down. So I kind of, in not typical fashion, normally I would abandon that because I'm so like, ah, fuck this, let me move, and just I want to
Hmm.
keep bouncing around. But I was moving, but I was really biding my time because I knew he wasn't leaving. So I'm like, man, if he just slips up and one time comes off that, because I was hunting a woodlot that was adjacent to the hedgerow. I'm like, if he just, all he needs to do is slip up one time, chase a doe over here, or come, wanting to hit one of these scrapes, and he's done. And there was one time where he came, he started to work the edge, came to 30 yards, cut back in. I missed it. As the rut kind of got a little further on, there was another time where I actually had a doe that busted out into the woodlot, and I seen him, coming through the timber, head down. I was like, this is it. He's coming in,
Hmm.
and then right as he was about at that probably 35, 40-yard range, he started to work a scrape, made it a little bit closer, and just killed enough time for
Hmm.
that doe to work past me and not be in my zone anymore. And then he just, kind of angled to her. I'm like, God damn. So I was just kind of, I found myself waiting that situation out for a little too long this year. But I had an awesome
Hmm.
one down, and this was
Right.
a giant I'd pinned down. It's kind of stupid
Right.
to leave a deer to go
Yeah. I mean,
find
you're at
something.
that point, you're kind of playing with house money. right? Doesn't it feel good to get one
Yeah,
down early? Because then it's like
in a
it
way,
feels almost like
yeah.
the stress is off. Where you're just like,
Well, I will honestly say that a big change in my everything nowadays is like there is no stress, or there's no pressure. Like there, I will admit, man, there used to be pressure. Everybody says, "Oh, there's no pressure. I'm just out here hunting." There's pressure, especially when you work in the hunting industry and people are
yeah,
looking at you like, "Oh, what are you going to kill? What are you going to do?" Um, and 5 years ago, I'd say, yeah, there was pressure. But one of the biggest things I've been working at, like personally, internally, like everything, is just like I'm a different hunter. I'm looking to get different things out of it. Um, I don't have that pressure.
mm,
I literally have the mindset, I'm trying to experience absolute as much as I can. It's one of the reasons I dropped off on content a lot too, because
hmm,
when I'm doing all this filming and shit, it sucks because I want to do it because I want to give it to the people who want to see it because
hmm,
it's awesome and they can learn things from it. And I like it when it jacks them up. And I love helping people, but it also freaking kills me because it takes
yeah,
me out of that like predator hunt mindset and it puts me into, oh, okay, well, what shot's going to look best? Or, oh, no, let me make sure I get my clip. Oh, let me take my stand back down. And that ain't like you're not running at your full potential when you're doing that shit in hunting, or at least I don't
yeah,
think so. So,
yeah,
but I got nothing to prove. I got no pressure. I go out, looking to be as present as I can and kind of take everything in, to whereas
yeah.
for so many years it was rhythmic for me. It was like robotic almost. Like I was
Hmm.
out there to just
Prove
fucking,
something.
well, yeah, just, yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, just, yeah. And even when
yeah,
I get a deer, you know, I hit a point in time where like I got a deer and, right, let's say a year, three deer over 170, I think I shot in 1 year. And then I look back, the end of the year came and I look back on it and I'm like, where was that was fucking epic. Like what you just did was epic.
yeah,
Where was the joy in it?
yeah,
Where did you stop to smell the roses? Like where, I mean, it was awesome and I recall every moment and but it was very much, okay, this one, like this state's done. Where's the next place? Okay, what's
yeah.
the next deer or where's the next ridge I can scout or what's the next thing I can do? I don't want to do that shit anymore, man. I just don't. It kind of bummed me out then looking back at it, and I remember the deer when I went into the next season after that, and this is many years ago, but I went in the next season after that, and um, I had this realization of how absent we really are when we hunt, which is
Yeah.
it's freaking nuts, man. Especially with cell phones and a lot of people, younger guys and younger people don't know or don't realize how, I don't know, it's crazy, man.
Yeah. No, you're right, man. Because I mean, I can remember a time, hunting when, I mean, I didn't have trail cameras growing up. Like that wasn't a thing. I mean, there were some available, but it wasn't like we were fucking too poor to have them. You know what I mean? It's like we
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
have any trail cameras. The most we had was maybe like a walkie-talkie to if someone was like 2 ridges over, so I could get a hold of my dad or whatever.
yep,
That was about the
yep,
extent of it.
yeah, because
Um,
yep, yep.
so it's like you had no option but to be present. You know what I mean? Because that was it. There
Hmm.
was no social media. You honestly didn't know what anyone else killed either. The only way you found out was like when you went to school, you'd find out so and so killed something, or their dad killed something, or their uncle if you went to school with them, and then maybe if someone killed a hammer, they'd put it in the paper, and that was about
Yeah,
it. You know what I mean? So you had no clue what anyone else was killing around you. You were just going out to have fun and do it.
yeah. And there's definitely like this crazy presence of word of mouth back then. And I remember even like when I got in to the back to the hunting industry, I remember there was times where like I'd kill stuff, run into people, and they'd be like, "Oh, dude, nice buck" or whatever, and I'm like, "What?" Like, yeah, no, I've seen that big 10 you shot, and I'm like, "Oh shit, for real?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." Like, you're like, "Thanks, man, thanks,
Right.
brother." And then I would leave, and I'd be like, "How the fuck did he see that deer?" I'm like, "Where did he?"
Right.
But just you send, I don't know, somebody sees a picture or whatever. I know back, so when I was younger, so we got a little age gap, but I remember
Yeah.
or when I started hunting seriously was right when like the first trail cameras started coming out. Like
Mm.
they were trying to push them. They were like those huge, dude. They were like the size of laptops,
Yeah.
and they were full flash. Yeah,
right?
probably like, well, you're probably what you were talking about, like, some people had them, but
Yeah.
then you had to take the damn film, just like one of those
Yeah, go get
film
it
cameras.
exposed. Yeah,
Yeah,
just like
you
you
have to
would. Yeah.
take the film to Walgreens or whatever. But man, so on that note, I asked myself this one time, or I asked you this, right? So think about this. When's the last time that you've been in the woods hunting, or shed hunting, or well, maybe let's just talk hunting, right? So,
Mhm.
um, you're in the timber and you are, sitting in a spot. You're not thinking. You're not on your phone for sure. Like, you're not on your phone for
Mhm.
sure. You're not thinking about the family. You're not thinking about an email that you didn't send out. You're not thinking about what you have to do tomorrow. You're not thinking about what you didn't get done today. No, like, you're not even now, even in the plane of hunting, you're not thinking, oh shit, if I don't see that buck tonight, where am I going to go scout him tomorrow? Or what's over here? Or did I fuck up on this setup? None of that's going through your mind, right? You don't have your mind anywhere else other than the exact moment and what the fuck is happening on around you.
Mhm.
Like, like complete presence. Can you think of the last time that you had that?
I
Because I
think,
couldn't.
yeah,
I,
I mean, I can't, I think the closest that I came was probably that the Kansas deer, only because I had glassed him and I knew what the plan was, and I was like certain that I was going to kill him there. Now I was dialed in like when I got there, right? But even when I got there, it's like I set up in one spot and I was like, oh man, I should probably move. So I moved like 30, like 20 or 30 yards. And then I got to that spot and I was like, oh, this is going to be terrible. He's going to win me here. So I moved back to the spot I was at originally. And then I was like, oh man, the
yep.
sun's beating on me here. But then I was like, it just needs to be right for 20 minutes. I just need the spot to be right for 20 minutes. That's all. I just need the sun. Once the sun dips, I'm fine. So there was like a point, there was like a period of like probably 30 minutes where I was like completely dialed, right? Because it was that window where I was like, I've got the right spot. The sun's getting right. The wind is right. If he does what he did last night, he's going to get killed. But he didn't come out. He came out a little later, right? And so like that time passed, and immediately my mind switched, and I was like, the does snuck up on me because I was glassing the opposite side, looking to think about, are there any deer coming out on this other side, and should maybe I be setting up over there tomorrow at some point, or should I be over, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yep.
it was a very small window where I actually was like in that moment. Otherwise, I was scenario planning and then moving on to the next hunt.
Yeah. And
So you're right.
don't,
Yeah.
well, don't get me wrong. You want to be keyed in. You want to have the overall big picture in your mind. And I'm not talking, and I think you should, for instance, last year when I made the kill, like that morning, upon spotting that buck, everything disappears. That's what's so awesome about the moment is
Yeah.
when that fucker's coming in, you're not thinking about, Jimmy Joe next door and freaking whatever. Like, you're not,
Right.
you're in there, but I'm talking the entire process, right? I'm talking just a bummer sit, and like the monotonous grind that goes into the ultimate success.
Oh, the bummer sit, dude. Your mind is everywhere other than right there.
It shouldn't be though. That's the whole
Shouldn't
point.
be,
And
yeah.
it's we're so stuck in a constantly need to be updated society, and like we're always available. We're never not available anymore.
Yep.
Like shit, back in the day, like if you weren't home and somebody called you, like you weren't fucking home. You didn't know.
Yeah.
When you got back, oh shit, so and so called for you. Oh damn, dude,
Right?
that's a thing. It's scary, but it's not possible
Dude,
now.
I remember I remember when call waiting came out. Like,
Yeah.
and you could hear the phone beep like someone was trying to call you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was like, oh, you don't know who it is, but I know somebody's trying to call me. You know what I mean? It's like, I remember when that was the deal, before,
shit.
when I was growing up, we didn't even have, for the longest time, didn't have like a voice machine or anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
voicemail,
if they called you and you weren't home, it was just like, you were shit out of luck. You have to
call
try
back later.
Yeah.
Call back later. Yeah.
How nice would that be now, though?
Oh,
You know
dude,
what I
it'd
mean?
be
Just
fun.
like,
Well, we don't realize. So that's where this technology is such a double-edged sword, right?
No,
It's
yeah,
awesome.
100%.
It's awesome, but it also sucks, man. It's taking us in a way that we want in certain aspects, but it's also taking us in the completely opposite direction in other aspects. Which that's the tough thing about it, man. It's like, so. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, so how do you working on staying present in the hunts then? So that's question one. And then number two is are you finding that as you're finding the ability to kind of stay present in your hunts, is it also filter into your everyday life where you're now recognizing you're being more present just in your day in general?
What I never understood about where it all clicked for me when I would hunt, what was the presence. So it wasn't something that I realized back then because, well, it wasn't talked about, but it wasn't even a thing. And even as, you know, I did a lot of hunting, and as I came into it, and all the times where I would get real, because I've always been, said this time and time again, obsessed with the hunt, right? The puzzle, the match, whatever you want to call it, not all the fluffy shit that goes with it. So when I'd get into these situations, or when I'd have the best experiences, or I don't want to say best experiences, but like most successful calculated hunts, it was like the ultimate honing in of presence at what the hell's going on in the timber.
Yes.
It's like you go in there, and that's what we're losing. That's what drives, it gets me so passionate about this. The whole fucking dying breed bow hunter thing is like, that's what we're losing. We're losing that what this is, right? So what this is to go somewhere and solve the puzzle, to dive deep and to be present in nature. And I think that's ultimately what fuels us from hunting, that we might not have realized. I didn't realize it before. So I'd go in, I'd get dialed in, I'd scout my ass off, I'd find the sign, I'd read the woods, take anything it was trying to tell me, right? I'd take every piece of the puzzle, and I end up with this successful fucking hunt. And it was awesome. And then that high, and then immediately the high was over after the deer was shot. And then I'd go to the next state, and it was like what I didn't realize is I was chasing just like a rock climber chases being on that face because everything else disappears. Like, you know, so when I think I came to the present scenario later, you know, 15 years down the road after hunting for so many years and just hunting and hunting. Well, being in the outdoor, being out in the woods doing that grounded me too. It was the only connection or it was, you know, the only time you weren't connected, it seemed like. But then when I realized the presence played a huge role in that, and then realized how that was slowly fading, and then I'd find myself sitting in a tree stand on my phone trying to catch up on emails, like, you know, especially working in the industry, man, it's like, you know, you get this sort of guilt too when you're hunting. So like, you know, and coming
not
from
working. Yeah.
Well, coming from like, okay, when I worked construction and I hunted, it was like, dude, you can't touch me. Fucking, I'll be back on Monday. I'm fucking hunting right now. Like there was it was like you punched out, you were fucking done. Like you did not have to be back in town. You did not have to, as long as you cleared it with the old lady or whatever. Well, then it went, you know, from there to, oh shit, well now you have a job hunting. There's like this weird pressure for one, produce, and then also to, well shit, now it's like hunting season. Now is when all the hunters need the most attention. Now is when you need to, you know, and you know, not working and just turning it off, like to be just in the timber. It's hard to do. And then you add in the social aspect, the social media aspect. Well, dude, we want to show people what we're doing, man. We want to spread the word. We want to help people. Then you start filming yourself, and before you know it, dude. If you're in the tree stand and you're fucking doomsday scrolling, you know, what do they call it, doom scrolling or whatever, where you're literally, your mind is fucking, you're not even thinking for yourself. You're just autopilot. If you're doing that in the tree stand, man, I'm here to. This is your intervention. We need to take a step back. And what's even worse about this is it's the same thing with the cell cameras now. What these cameras are doing is it's the same shit as what Instagram does when we scroll it. When you get that message, it's like fucking a dopamine hit. Oh shit, what's on my camera? Dude, it's like gambling, dude. They're you know, they're selling us scratch offs, and so anyway, so if you can break that cycle and you can get out of that and you can actually take in, like, you're missing all the greatest shit about being out there and hunting, which is the energy you can take in from just being out there and being present. And I know this is getting kind of hippie, man.
No,
sound,
it's
you probably don't have a lot of podcasts like this, but
no, I love it, dude. This is the type of stuff I love to talk about, man, because like I think, like, for me at least, when you start to understand those types of things, I don't care what it is you're doing. If you're hunting, if you're lifting weights, if you're playing baseball, if you're playing football, if you're doing jiu-jitsu, if you're knitting, you know, crocheting, like whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like when you, and I think there's like a level of maturity that you hit at some point where like that you realize moments when you are present and you aren't. and then you start to figure out like, how do I work myself into an ability to just to be present? You know what I mean? I think that that's like, I think there's a level of life experience and maturity and things like that you have that makes it easier to kind of recognize. I think some people who are young that get it, I mean, they're the anomaly to my, in my opinion, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love talking about this stuff because I think it just helps you be more successful in whatever you're doing. Like for me, I was always chasing this thing and I didn't know what it was. Like I chased it in music. I chased it in, I still chase it in hunting. I chase it in jujitsu, right? And I couldn't ever figure out what it was. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's because you get older and you start really trying to understand yourself a little bit better, because you want to understand yourself as best as you can, but also you want to understand yourself as best you can for people around you. Because when you know what you are, it becomes really, really easy to give everything you can to the people around you. But until you do that, it's really hard to, and so this has been like a quest of mine for forever. And I finally kind of like unlocked it, because I used to think like very kind of, generically that, why do all the things I like, why are they all really hard? Right. And I was like, well, maybe I just like to do hard things, because that's the alpha male in me saying like, I just like to do hard things. Like I like it. Like I like shitty hunts. I like to do jujitsu and wrestling and grappling because it's tough and it's hard. Right. But I was like, that's not like, that wasn't it like that. And I recognized that. I was like, I don't think that that's it. Like that's not far enough down the rabbit hole. And so what I started thinking about, I was like, well, what is it about all those things? Right. And what I kind of finally came to, and it made the most sense to me, was that I like things, what you were saying about the puzzle, I like things that there's not really any hope of mastery. Like mastery isn't even a possibility because the permutations are endless, right? There is no template. Yeah. There is no roadmap. You know what I mean? Like there's a beginning, and here's how you can start, and here's some fundamentals and foundational things that will help you. But there is no end in sight, right? Because music, it's as broad and as interesting or as simple as you want to make it. Jiu-jitsu, it's always evolving, and your body is always changing. So that means like your jiu-jitsu is always changing, right? As you get older and things like that, right? And like the techniques are always developing, and you always have a person who's probably going to be better than you, right? So there's that. And then with hunting, I mean, it's the most wild kind of component, right? Because like you're dealing with wild animals that you don't know what they're thinking, right? And there's so many variables in the wild between, your intrusion into their space, a predator's intrusion into their space, how their food changes, like all the things we always talk about, right? That kind of changes, how they're going to behave or how they're going to act, right? And so for me, it became, once I recognized that I pursue things that there's no hope in mastery, then I was able to kind of drop it and go, what? I don't have to be perfect at this stuff. I just have to be present and enjoy it. And if I do that, whatever I'm supposed to get out of it, I'll get out of it, right? Whether that's killing the big deer that I want to kill, whether that's just having a great experience that I want to have and seeing a big deer do a bunch of cool stuff, or win the tournament, or learn something new because I lost this match or whatever it is. Yeah. It just puts everything in a different context to where it's like you then can actually kind of pursue mastery of like your own capabilities, right? Not mastery of the thing, but mastery of your ability to do the thing.
Well, yeah, and you can do. I mean, you can have goals or these aspirations like within this thing, like not that you're like, oh, okay, well in 5 years I'm going to master this or whatever, but that's the kind of the whole adage of raising the bar, bigger deer, or like, oh, well, I want to do a jiu-jitsu competition, or I want to, I want to go play on a stage somewhere. Like, I mean, and because you're doing that, as long as you're still, as you don't lose that, in the act type moment, you're going to benefit. So that's one of the things, is I get the question, oh, like, so do you not care about big deer anymore? Like, oh no, I very much care about big deer. I'm still trying to shoot big deer. It's still big deer that turn me on and that drive me, right? So but what a lot of people don't realize, it is about the experience, but you can also amplify that experience and make that experience so much harder, better, more set, like by implementing these challenges to yourself.
Hmm.
It's like removing the layers and doing the trad bow or you know, I made that man, I apologize. Dude, I'm like getting swarmed here by flies, man. This whole time I've been like I'm in the barn office, man, and like dude, it's just insane out here. I feel like I'm
People,
just like
it reminds me of a
getting
fear,
getting the
fear and loathing in Las Vegas. Whenever he eats the acid at the beginning, he thinks there's bats in there.
I promise you there's actually flies here. You'll probably see one on my fucking forehead. Damn, where was I now?
Up in the challenge, right? You're adding layers to it. Peel
Yeah,
it, you know,
oh, the layers, right? So
yeah.
it's like, you know, and that's another thing with this presence too. It's like, you know, you can, it's like the more I think the more layers you take away from this, you know, it's different. You know, so music might be different, even jujitsu, but in this one thing that's called hunting, right, is like, it's so connected with nature and there's so much to get from it based on, or other than just, you know, than just the one, you know, than just maybe like a single focused hobby or something, or I think since it's involving nature and it gets you outside, especially in a time where we're just not wild at all anymore, I guess. I don't know
Hmm.
what you want to
Yeah.
call it, but the layers, man. So the more you take away, the more layers you strip away, the better the feeling is, man. The more you connect with
Hmm.
hunting. You know, it's just
Yeah. I think that's a great, like when you say connect with hunting, like it makes me think of, you know, when you get that presence, right? And you start to connect with hunting, like to me, that's where naturally kind of the woodsmanship kind of naturally comes in. Because how do you connect, right? It's like it's that observation, it's being in the moment, paying attention to the things that are around you, right?
yeah.
And that's how you truly connect, right? I think so many people, and I'm not poo pooing them. Like it's how they get in, and they don't have maybe any other reference point. Because again, it's like I grew up in a time where you didn't have those things, you know, and you did too. Because we're not. I mean, I'm older than you, right? But you still had that experience pre-technology, right? People who are coming in it to today, like they don't know anything different than what we have today, right? And so I almost feel like a lot of people, you know, like
But
you know how
it's
whenever when you're building something, like say you're building a house, or you build a house, right? And you live in the house for like 5 or 10 years, and you go to put an addition on, right? And you hire one guy, and when he builds it, it clearly looks like something that you just bolted on to the house, right? It's like, yeah, it's an addition, but it doesn't really look 100% like it was original with the house, right? And then you hire a different guy maybe, and that guy builds something, and it looks like it was always meant to be with that house, right? It looks
yeah.
like it's aged the
We're getting
same.
deep here, man.
You know, yeah,
You got me. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, all right.
You know what I mean?
So this
And so I almost feel like people now, like when they get into the hunting space, like as new hunters, because of like, you know, access to things that they have, and not having to kind of not having like a minimalist approach by, you know, just by nature of like what was not available when we were younger, that they almost like sit on top of hunting. Like they just kind of bolt themselves to it as opposed to like immersing themselves in it.
I
Right.
got you.
Like there's a difference, right? Like, and I feel like the things that we have now, and I'm not saying don't use them. Like if that's what you're into, like by all means, like use whatever it is that you want to use to be successful and whatever makes you happy. But I feel like some of that stuff creates a layer that keeps you from being fully connected to the actual experience.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. And like you said, it's to nobody's fault who's coming in not because like you said, if you don't know, you don't know. It's just like, you know, nowadays kids, the first thing is the tablet or the TV or like, you know, it's not
Right.
nobody's nobody's going outside and playing cowboys and Indians or whatever, which
Yeah, no one's
that's
going out and like
you know,
catching snakes. That's what my
it's
cousins and I did. Like we would go out and we would catch snakes, you know what I mean? Or
yeah.
like, you know,
Um
or shoot groundhogs or whatever it was, you know?
yeah, it's a little different, man. And I always teetered on that line, man. I've always considered myself a bit of an old soul.
Hmm.
And you know, man, I swear, like for the longest time, I was like, man, I was not meant for this, you know,
This
generation, man.
era.
I was a
Yeah.
generation too late. Fucking one, just yeah.
Right.
And well, now, dude, now I look at it differently. Now I think I was meant for this generation, and I was meant to fucking be an eye opener for some people who are straying away, and maybe we can take some and hone the focus back in on what this shit is, what
Mhm.
hunting actually is,
Right.
and I do believe, even all these people you get, that have seen a lot of success from technology and all this, and who've maybe slowly graduated away from it, or who never got to experience that. What the ultimate goal would be, if they can experience what it actually is, that's what's going to really seal the deal, man. And you
Yeah.
know, I wish
Yeah.
everybody
Uh,
could get that, but
yeah, man. I mean, I've talked about this on the show at different times where it's, last year I had a great year, filled both my tags, in two different states, but the most satisfying thing for me was the deer I ended up killing in Pennsylvania was a spot I'd hunted 3 different years. It got beat a couple different times by different deer. And the deer I ended up killing had no clue he was there. I didn't have a camera in there. Like I had one, but it died like in June, and I just never made it back in to do anything or whatever. And so I just went in to hunt because historically I knew that spot was good around those dates, and went in, and deer came out, made a scrape, gave me a 10-yard shot, killed him. Right. Go to Kansas, no cameras, no nothing, no tech, other than maps. Right. Old school, glassed him, saw him, went and killed him next day. You know what I mean? Like that was so fulfilling for me because the mystery was there. I had no clue. When I glassed that deer that I killed in Kansas, like I couldn't, it was 8/10 of a mile away. So I didn't have a spotter. I was just using my binos, and I couldn't tell you exactly how big that deer was.
yeah,
You know what I mean? But I just knew whenever I saw the glisten of the rack that I was like, oh, he looks like a good buck. And then I hunted in an area in the morning, and I saw a deer that spooked when I routed at him, and he was like 130 inches. And so I was like, man, that must have been that deer that was with the other deer I saw last night. So the other one was the one that I did see must be bigger than him, or must be more mature. He must be the cock of the walk, And so it was just reading what was being presented to me to kind of figure out what the scenario was going to be. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
And that was just, it was so fulfilling to do it because there was nothing between me and those deer. Nothing. You know what I mean? It was just me and the deer. That was it.
Yeah, man. That's what's lost so much now, and even it even you can even be in that situation, um, and somehow have the bullshit get in between there, right? So, like for instance, you could be, which was something that happens to me a lot. I'm hunting. I'm not using any technique. I'm just doing it the way I want to do it. Like I'm creating my experience. That's the thing. Or like
Mm-hmm.
I'm creating the experience that I want, right? So I could do I could do this any way, shape, or form. I could grab a freaking rifle and go out there.
Mm-hmm.
It is about killing deer, but it's not just about killing deer. It's about killing them a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
It's about killing a certain deer, killing them a certain way. Doing it your way, right? In a way you can be proud over, the way that jacks you up. But even if you're in that pursuit and you're constantly taken out of it by just your fucking phone,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's not even hunting related, it's not looking at trail camera pictures, but you're just a prisoner to your phone while you're hunting, like you're just totally missing it, man. You're just missing and then before you know it, you lift your head up and there's a buck there, the one that didn't crack you before you seen him, and then you shoot him, and it's like it still robs you. It's robbing a lot of that experience from you, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's something like I do like whenever I'm hunting places where I just don't have cell service, because it
It
forces me.
forces, yeah, it forces you to kind of
Yeah,
be,
can't scroll anything. Like I got to be in the moment because I don't have a
yeah,
choice. It almost just removes it for me.
yeah,
And it's not surprising that those hunts, even if I only see, I can think of 2 hunts from last year where, I saw a couple does, at close range and got to watch them. And it was an area I hadn't hunted before. And I got to learn a little bit because I've heard them coming from far away and was able just to watch how they kind of use it. And I was like, oh, all right, cool. So that's how they're using that. Right. If I would have been on my phone, right, like I
that's
miss
a
all that, you know what I mean? Of like, oh,
dude.
that's how they were using that terrain feature. Right.
This is a huge thing that people miss out on. Is just, and I talk about this all the time at the road shows, but it's deer mannerisms. The shit that you learn from just watching deer in general, and then there's another benefit for going elsewhere to different states, to raising the bar, to looking for different caliber animals. Like, not only, you could watch fawns all day long, but then fawns from does from mature does, like the herd fucking doe,
Mm-hmm.
that alpha doe that is smarter than any of those bucks out there. you know um these are the things. This is where you grab all that knowledge. like, or this is where you really bank your woodsmanship and your knowledge, deer mannerisms, you know. And what you see from a year and a half old buck is not going to be the same as 2, 3, 4, whatever. And then you get different types of bucks and different types of deer in general, even coyotes, squirrels, all this shit, you know, seeing how, these squirrels act, when a deer's coming, or turkeys, or, they're all using each other. Like there's so much to be learned there in being present that is out of the window and not even talked about nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
There's so
just,
much interconnectivity like there
yeah,
in the woods that people get just myopically focused on what are the deer doing, but it's not just what are the deer doing. It's like what are all the things doing around them? What are the things
yeah.
that, if you're thinking about,
Well,
take it to the digital world, right? Everyone's looking at analytics, right? All those things that you hear or see in the woods are also analytics. Those are data points, right? If you
yeah,
understand how they connect, that's a really powerful story that you can start to use, or a really powerful kind of indicators you
that's,
can start to use.
yeah, definitely a good analogy.
Yeah.
It's like one of those big things too. Like, oh, you start, I started hunting lower and closer, and then the big question is, okay, well, stealthy and getting away with movement and stuff. And well, I've come over so many years, I've come to know how to read a deer's body language very, very well, to know exactly when I can get away with the slightest movement or when I can't. Or, and this changes. Some deer, I will admit, some deer are more cued on and more cagey than others. Some are, this time of year has to matter with this, but there are there are staple signs and staple actions that whitetails make that can alert you at things, or whether it's a flick of a tail, or you take even shooting a deer, for instance. There is so many pieces to that puzzle. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you call me up in the middle of the season, you're like, "Hey Cody, I just shot one, man. Like, what do you think?" Like, I'm gonna start to ask you questions, and I'm gonna be like, "Okay, well, first of all, where do you think you hit him? Where did you hit him? What this,
Mm-hmm.
that? What did he do? What did his tail do? What did his ears do? What did his body do? Did he run? Did he stop? Did he take 3 steps? How long was he sitting in this position? How
Yeah.
did he mule kick? There's like so much you can, and nobody even looks at that. They're just like, oh, I shot him, right behind the
Yeah.
shoulder. Everybody shoots him right behind the shoulder.
Yeah.
But
Everybody
then,
does. Yeah.
but you're like, oh shit, okay, well if so many
Yeah.
times I'm listening and it's like, well, okay, well if you shot him right behind the shoulder, right where you're saying, like, he wouldn't have ran 5 feet and hunched up and stood there for 30 minutes. And then
Right.
slumped off with his tail tucked so fucking far between his legs that you couldn't even see it. And is like that ain't a behind the shoulder shot, dude. You got guts.
Right. Right.
You're way far. So whether you thought you shot all things you can, then now it's chapter 2. Let's get down and look at the arrow. Let's look at the blood. Let's look at the hair. Let's look at the direction he went. Let's look at what he's, so many. That same stuff applies to when you're hunting and when a
Yeah.
doe walks through. I had anybody ever see, or there's, if you get cracked by a doe, this goes to a deeper level too of like, okay, a animal's sixth sense or pheromones or what you're emitting, your energies. Like, I'm big on the energy thing. I figure we dump right into the rabbit hole since we're already kind of
Right.
talking a bunch of hippie stuff, but
Right.
the energy concept. So for instance, just at the last road show, I get a guy comes up to me, he's like, "Hey Cody," he's like, "I listen to all your podcasts." I'm like, "Oh, I appreciate it, dude." And he's like, "Man," he's like, "you always talk about running into big bucks when you're scouting, and like, oh, you could have shot him, but you kind of just glazed by it." And like, he's like, "So do you take your bow now, or like, why don't you take your bow when you scout?" And I'm like, and I'm like, "No, I don't." I said, "There's been plenty of times that I could have shot a deer if I had my bow." I was like, "But if I took my bow, I would no longer be scouting; I'd be hunting." And I do
Right.
believe there's a difference there. I
Mm-hmm.
would love, like, I do have a goal, even though I'm Mr. Tree Stand, I do have a goal. I want to shoot one off the ground one day. I do
Mm-hmm.
want to do that. I think the idea and the concept of still hunting and just lurking through the woods and being as stealthy as you can be and trying to connect on something would be freaking amazing. But that's not my game. What I've always done, the elevated ambush, the tree stand, right? So when I'm scouting, especially in these situations where I come up on these bucks that I could have shot, I have a different, like, I am not predator. There's no predatory thing going on, right? I'm not emitting any. I'm not sneaking around. I am literally walking. I'm walking carefree with as clear minded as I can. I'm absorbing information. I'm getting
Mm-hmm.
all the information. I walk by a lot of deer that don't even get up in bed. And I do believe that that's because they know I have no freaking qualm with them whatsoever. I'm not going to harm, I
Yep.
let them see me. I see them. If I stopped and was like, then they'd get all spooked out. I just keep moving. I stay slow. I get the information I need to get, and I move methodically. Guys who have scouted with me have been like, "Dude, why are you walking so fast? Aren't you gonna?" I'm like, I see what I need to see. I'm just moving through, man. I'm trying to get the lay of the land. I'm trying to get the feel for everything, and I believe that's an energy thing. I believe,
Mm-hmm.
if I was sneaking around with my bow trying to do the same thing, I don't think I would get as many opportunities. And it's the same. The same thing gravitates then to when you're in the stand hunting. I'm sure we've all had it happen to where you're in a stand, your wind is bulletproof, you got a doe and a spike buck or a little basket come through, and everything's perfect. You're just cool as a fucking cucumber. They mill around your stand for 35 minutes. They hang out. Let's say you're in a staging area, whatever. As soon as that 150 crests the hill and you see him, all of a sudden you're fucking jacked. You're like, oh shit, here he comes. He starts working in and he just holds up at freaking like 40 yards and is just like looking. And even you're educated on thermals. Your wind's good. You got deer all in here. It's not that. Your heart's beating out of your chest, and I think that buck, those deer are sensing that energy, and they know something's up. And that fucker never even comes in. He just turns around and walks away. You could argue he winded you or he got your thermal, like he got a thermal, like he could have. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of those times where, that other things might be right, but he's sensing that. And it's because you all of a sudden now, your dynamic changed.
Yeah.
You were comfortable with those deer. Had you wanted to shoot that basket rack, I believe that basket rack would have never chilled out by you for so long.
Right.
You know,
Well, I mean,
so
just think about the times like maybe you're walking somewhere or whatever. You just get this feeling. It's like, man, is there someone behind me? Is there
dude,
something behind me?
I was
Or is
just gonna get to that.
or someone looking at
Dude,
me? You know what I mean?
think
Like there's.
about think about when you meet somebody that's like sketchy as hell, right? And you're like,
Mhm.
oh man, I don't like. We have a little of that. I think animals, we're talking about animals that can. I don't think people give enough credit to the sixth sense or
Yeah.
whatever the
Well,
sense
just
they
take a
have
dog
for.
for example, right? Like,
Yeah, dogs,
so
dude.
like my dog, you know, he here's a great example, right? So we took him to one vet, right? He's a lab, so he's a big puss, he's a big old baby,
Yeah.
not a mean bone in his body. Take him to the vet, hates the vet. Technicians are fine, right? As soon as the vet walks in, he growls and he has to be muzzled, right? They have to put the,
Dang.
the cage thing on his face, right? Because he doesn't like
That's
them.
bizarre, man.
So we took him to a different vet, right? Took him to a different vet. Doesn't like them either, right? Muzzle, the whole thing, right? Went to a third vet because he had a medical issue or whatever, and we didn't like a different vet because they tried to pull some shady shit on us. So we took him to a different vet. That vet got her fingers in his mouth, like doing whatever she wants to do, cool as a cucumber, like doesn't care, right? And dogs just are really good at recognizing like if people are good people or not. You know what I mean? Like they can feel, they can sense that this is not necessarily the person you want to be hanging out with, or I don't like this person, and you may not ever know why, right? But I've come to learn that like when my dog does not like somebody, that's pretty much like a
Pretty clear indicator. Yeah.
pretty clear
Yeah.
indicator. You know what I mean? Because there's not many people he doesn't like. You know what I mean? It's just like, and that's how I look at it. It's like, and if you think that deer don't do the same thing, that they don't sense like something's off,
Yeah.
then I don't know. Maybe you need to
Well,
spend more time around dogs. I don't know.
and this is, and this is not something, obviously, there's only so much you can do with this. I'm just highlighting one aspect that I think is happening. And it
Mhm.
was the whole scouting versus hunting thing. And because I've had that happen to me. Like I know my shit, whatever. But to me, it's that next step. It's that giant that actually jacks me. Because when you get to a point where you've killed a certain amount of deer, like I still love seeing them. I love being out there with them. I love watching them. But they don't fire me up because I haven't flipped the switch over, right?
Hmm.
And, I've had giants to where like I wasn't calm and collected, man. I couldn't keep myself calm and collected, and they got a leg up on me because of that. And I think that's a thing, even amongst deer to deer. So if you get straight up busted in a tree by a doe, let's say she catches a whiff and then she catches you moving, and like now that's the two strikes, you're out, right? Like she's got
Hmm.
visual and scent, because
Hmm.
there's a million levels of getting busted.
Yeah.
She gets scent. It's not even, it's bad, but without a visual, it's like there's still unknowns there to the deer.
Right.
Now, when they smell something and their nose tells them something's up, then they start hawking. Then all of a sudden, you freaking get busted. It's game. Now
Yeah.
oh shit. That's when the game is over, right? So that happens. Let's say a deer, gets the shit scared out of it, runs off. 20 minutes later, or maybe an hour later, and your wind was good. Maybe you had just an updraft or something, or maybe she just caught you visually, but she got spooked. Hour later, the buck you're looking to shoot comes right in on that same trail. Before he even gets in your shooting range, he stops right where she wigged out. He's like, something's not right here.
Mhm.
Whatever she left behind, whatever pheromones or whatever the hell, is still lingering there an hour after, and it screws your hunt up. There's shit like that is very common, and it's very real.
Yeah.
But those are things too that if you're not paying attention, you got to be. How do you learn these things? You learn these things from freaking hunting a lot and watching a lot of deer, and
Yeah.
putting it in the old Rolodex.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the. I mean, I think that's just one of the things that people miss out on is just the, you know, I call it time and country. Like you got to have
Oh
time
yeah,
and country
yeah,
in
for
places.
sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
like I always say, this one piece that I've been hunting last year, I think was year number 3. And I've had buck encounters the past 2 years at this place. But I always say like if it's a new piece for me, it's like give me 3 years is what I really kind of need to feel like I know now how the deer like to use the land. I kind of know what they want to do. I know where they want to be. I know how they kind of behave. It's like I have now like enough of a Rolodex, like you said, to kind of actually put a plan together, right? To kind of go, all
Hmm.
right, this is how I need to approach this. Anything beyond that, and the reason being is like you just need intel. Like it's hard. It's hard to walk in places blind and expect to have success. Like I've done it, like going out of state, because that's usually how I hunt when I go out of state.
Hmm.
But it's also much different, like burn the place up type of approach that I have when I go out of state, where I'm just burning boot leather, trying to get as much information as I can. And whenever I feel like I'm in the right spot, then I set up, right? And
Hmm.
there's certainly a part of that's luck too, that has to come into play, especially if you're doing it on short time,
But you're
but
creating your own luck though, so that's the
yeah,
great part about it. So I don't know if I'd call it luck per se, because anybody with half that ambition, well, I mean, you do get the guys who open their door, stumble out. I'm not
right,
gonna walk all the way over there. I'm just gonna sit right here, and then a freaking giant comes by. That's
right,
horseshoe luck, whatever.
right.
But like what you're saying though, which is an interesting concept, but like that's sort of the mentality and the approach, unless there's some greater tactic or restrain from not wanting to really bastardize something or really mess something up that I have a long game for. That's kind of how I try and look at, even with more time, my
Mm-hmm.
hunting scenarios. And I did a show with Andy May recently, and he talked about doing a lot of out of state hunts and like being
Mm-hmm.
very quick, just like you're saying. And I'm like, yeah, that's, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's how I hunt in state too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just normally how I go about doing things with,
Right.
I'm very, very conscious and 12 moves ahead. But at the same time, like, I don't want to be caught just sitting there waiting,
Right.
which,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's, but like you said, time and country though, like you'll learn a lot of things over the course of a time on a piece or whatever. And dude, I got places that I've hunted, like years and years and years. And man, I'm so surprised if I learn new shit about those places all the time. We're like, oh,
Hmm.
I'll be damned. Like, look at
Yeah.
this. Look at this little bench right here. Like, it's the
Right.
tiniest little, like, holy shit, I've never seen this before. Like, dude,
Yep.
that shit happens all the time. And that's why the whole mobile setup too makes a big difference. Because like, you'll have um, your staple
Mm.
spots, maybe staple trees marked that you'll rehang, or even you hang a permanent set in there or whatever. If you're hunting a piece of public, you're like, oh shit, okay, this right here, this pinch, this is my tree on a northwest wind. You'll get those spots, but so much shit changes from year to year too, and you do have new developing. So you got historical stuff, and then if you use the historical stuff, but then also stay keyed in, like that's where
Mm.
you don't want to catch yourself being lazy, because that's when opportunities
That's
slip
that's
by,
the key there, right? Because like I love historical data, right? I think a lot of guys do. I think the challenge with historical data is that
It's historical.
it's historical
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's a great barometer for where to start, and something may go down in that area, but you may need to slightly tweak
Yeah, yeah,
like
yep,
the tree that you're
yep,
in or your
yep.
access
Mm-hmm.
or whatever the case is, from year to year, because that was ultimately that one spot while I was getting beat, like the previous 2 years where I killed that deer in PA last year, was like I was using historical data and I was always in the right area, right?
Yeah,
But like
that's it right there,
the one deer came in
dude.
and I didn't have enough cover where he kind of came in, and I just had to learn over time like how they wanted to come in, because I thought they were doing one thing, and like after hunting it for like 2 years, I was like, dude, they're coming from all over the freaking place, man. You know what I mean? I was like, so I got to be in a different tree. You know what I mean? I was like,
Yeah.
because otherwise, I was like, I'm going to be screwed no matter
Mm-hmm.
what, and that's
Well,
ultimately what it took.
dude, that's a killer point, because oh man, with keep mentioning the road shows, but we dive so deep into tactics and strategy and stuff. And
I need to come. I need to make it to one of those. I know
dude, you got
you tell
yeah,
me to come
yeah,
every year,
yeah,
dude, and
yeah.
every year the one in PA, I always have something
We'll
going on that weekend,
I'll
which
we'll
sucks, but
yeah we'll figure something out and get you over to the next one in PA next year, because PA is a good state. I love going out there, but because we do like a straight up like kind of whitetail university thing, and I got some
hmm
things working on my end too, where I'm going to dive into a lot of the, because that's what's so crazy about this too, with no possibility of mastery, there's also so many facets to this. And like,
options are endless.
dude,
Yeah,
the layers in whitetail hunting are freaking, like, just gear we could literally talk about for a year. I
yeah,
mean, like, if we really want to freaking break down the year
yeah, yeah,
or the
yeah.
gear, right? Then you get into whitetails, right? You get into scouting, for instance. Oh my God, the scouting
hmm
that you could dive into, the rabbit hole you could get down there, and then setup,
hmm
like, your ambush point. And this is what I'm getting at with this one, is like the setup, right? So, is like, so I made this point of, you never want, you want to find the spot. You're not hunting for a tree, right? And this is
hmm
where, like, I don't want anybody to be confused. Like, we're never hunting for a tree. That's why we make the gear we do, is so you could get in any tree you need to, or
Right.
whatever. But at the same time, the right choice of tree can, um, so for instance, like, once the spot dictates where you want to be, sometimes there is a better tree than others. Or for instance, fine tuning, you could be in the
hmm
right spot and you're just 20 yards off, and there was another tree there that you might not have seen the first go around, or you might not have understood how the deer traffic was happening. um, and that's where I always talk about wanting to play my game, and I talk about looking for a tree that lets me play my game. It's not me tree hunting.
Right.
Don't get that twisted. I'm not. Oh, I need a perfect tree to fuck. No, but I want my advantage, and I know the way that I work. I know how stealthy I can be in a certain situation. So I'm not gonna abandon a good spot. I'm just gonna utilize that spot and find the absolute best tree that I can get in to play my game in that spot. And
Yeah.
sometimes I will then be forced to not only, instead of thinking to myself, no, I got to make it work in here, and I know it's going to be a tough hunt for me. Could I maybe do it? Yeah, but I've messed up like that a lot too. But
hmm
I want to hunt that spot. So instead, I'll all of a sudden take a step back, look at a macro view of it, and then take that spot I just count into consideration. And then, okay, Well, now looking at it from a couple steps back, you might see like, okay, well, actually, I can still be capitalizing on the action at this spot, but I can be 70 yards over here. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
so things like that can happen, or it's the old story too of like trying to cover 15 trails.
Yeah.
Well, instead of covering 15 trails, I'm going to pick two. I'm not going to, or instead of covering 15 trails half-ass, I'm going to cover two fucking banger, right? Like
Right.
nothing's getting by me on these two trails. So it's the same kind of concept. So
Yeah. I mean, I think the other
fine
thing is too
tuning.
is like when you talk about fine tuning, a lot of times guys will be in a tree, right? And they'll see something happen. And maybe they don't make a move that year for whatever reason. Maybe they don't get back to that spot to hunt it for whatever reason, right?
Hmm.
And and then the next year they go back and they hunt the same tree, right? And maybe they're hunting mobile, but they continue to go to that same tree, right?
Yep.
I think sometimes they don't take the opportunity, like they've recognized how critical, like finding like the chink in the armor within the spot, because that's ultimately, it's like to your point, it's like I want to play my game, right? But I'm also trying to figure out like what is the chink in the armor in the spot
Yep.
in the tree that's going to let me play my game, right?
So
And so this past year when I went into that spot, knowing I got beat two different times,
yeah.
when I went into scout, because I know that spot like the back of my hand, there was really no reason for me to go in there, for the most part last off season, right?
Hmm.
Other than I was like, I've gotten beat in here by two different deer on two different occasions. I need to go in and figure out like and just walk how they came in, because I've walked all over that place. But I was like, I need to walk it now with it fresh in my mind to see like what exactly did they do? How did they get in here? What was the most likely route that they took to get in there? And what are other opportunities around there? And so what I ended up doing is like when I went in, I picked out two additional trees that weren't any farther than 20 yards away from one another. That were like, if it's this wind here, that tree will work. If it's this wind, that tree will work. If it's this wind, the tree that I was originally in would work. Right. And
Hmm.
so it's like, then I kind of had a couple things mapped out, because I also knew that like I don't get busted in there because the thermals shoot my wind straight up
Yep.
in the air. Right. So as long as they don't see me, I can hunt that spot probably a couple times if I need to. But what I don't want to do is be in the same tree every time. So
Yeah.
I want to be able to hop trees to kind of keep it fresh. Like, and so people think like keeping it fresh means I got to like abandon the whole area. It's like, man, in my mind, I'm like, keeping it fresh just means I might have moved 20 yards. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I'm in
And
the same area.
and sometimes you need to fine tune it, especially, well, that's something, dude, I've done that for and that was the whole concept of like never shooting far. It's like, well, I don't need to shoot far. I'll just move over and kill them close.
Mm-hmm.
To whereas like getting that,
Right.
and sometimes you miss them, or not miss them, but sometimes you missed out on that opportunity and you don't get it. But I've just always had that mentality of, adjust,
Mm-hmm.
stick and
Yep.
move. It's like freaking just keep playing the game. And it's so a very, very interesting. Now I told this story in depth during the season last year, right after I killed. But here's a prime example of what we're talking about. Like I glassed that buck that I shot. Giant mainframe 8. Almost 170. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, this is a shooter. Went in the next day to investigate. Found exactly where he was bedded. So I was so tempted to hunt there, but I was smarter than that. I'm like, there was good trees. There was
Mm-hmm.
even like I'm looking at the wind. I'm just like, it's just not, man. It's just not how I wanted it. It's just not gonna. There's a chance of this happening. There's a little chance that he could like. I don't like that. I don't mess with that. So like normally somebody'd be like, oh no, here's the spot. Just hunt. I gotta hang it. Even the tree I had to be in, I had to be standing and had to be shooting past the tree. I didn't want to do that. I'm just like, and there was just a couple unknown factors. So instead of pushing the envelope, which that was the spot by all means, 100%, it was the spot, but I forced myself to find a secondary spot. And all I had to do was think deeper. And it could have not worked, but it did work,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. But I just started thinking. I started putting all the fucking pieces together because instead of just looking at that one spot, I'm like, okay, what else do I know? And then looking at the land, okay, well, if I know this and I know this, then okay, he's got to be. So what I did was I kind of hypothesized his whole route, and based off of the facts that I knew, the fact of where he was bedded, the fact of where I seen him the evening prior, a little bit of sign I seen that I suspected to be his, and the lay of the land. what the wind was doing the next. All those things, I put them together, and I'm like, okay, well, if he's coming in off these fields, and I was like, if he's not coming in here, the secondary is going to be here. So I'm going to go hunt the secondary. It'll be playing it safe. And then if need be on the third day, I will blow this spot up, and I'll ensure shit. Like my prediction was pretty damn close to dead nuts, right? So, and I ended up shooting him that morning, but it was taking a step back. And then when I went that ridge over, because there was this main trail, and it's real bluffy, and it's a ridge side, and there was only one main trail leading into this little area with all these clusters of beds by these rocks. So I'm like, well, shit, he's dumping down, he's taking this trail. So how's he getting to this trail? If he's either coming in from this cut or he's coming in from this one, and based off of where I seen him in the direction he was going, I'm like, man, it seems like he's going out far into the open at night. So I'm gonna bet he's probably hooking in from the last one. And when I got to that last cut, there was this freaking little scrub oak that was set up so perfect for the wind I had the next morning. I could sit down, I could have my bow on my lap, it was like, in my head, I was like, oh, if he's coming in through here, it's fucking game over. And I was like, this is the setup I feel good about. So, and then if I didn't see him coming through that one, then I would just, oh, okay, well, now it's a systematic procedure. He's coming in the other cut. And could he be nomading it and coming through Yes, he could, but
right.
I'm just crossing one bridge when I come to it. So,
but those mature deer like that though, man, like they're so, like, I don't know.
There was nothing to keep him from diverting off of his typical pattern.
Right. I just find like I mean, I'll ask you because you've seen more mature deer than I have. Like, I feel like they're like, the older they get, like the more predictable they are, like the more consistent they are.
Sometimes they can be. So like I think this is actually a super interesting topic because I think it's split. I think you have it both ways. I think you have, and I think it's based off of terrain, deer, like the deer itself, the terrain, and then maybe area, whatever. Because so for instance, one thing I see here in Iowa, like in this country that I'm hunting, that's very similar to what I hear about East Coast deer, is they're more nomadic than like your typical farm country hedgerow type deer. Like they might, or whether they have an established bedding area, or whether they just bed in the same type of scenario, or you might get up north where have higher predator counts, where like that might maybe change the fact of them frequenting the exact same spot. But definitely temperament of deer too. A deer that's way high up on the pecking order, who's established a place. I talked about that buck who wouldn't leave that hedgerow earlier in the year.
Yeah.
That buck, I am 100%, like that buck didn't give a shit about anybody. Like he had his escape routes down pat. If anybody got near that hedgerow, he was gone. Any predator would get out of there, and he didn't give two shits about a buck coming in trying to challenge him. So he was like, this is my spot. And I've killed bucks like that in the past that were so territorial that like you go find their area and it stinks so bad and it's so ripped up. You're like, oh my God, this deer's never leaving. Like, and then you get in there and you're with them. And sometimes sometimes the fact of you being there almost pisses them off. Other deer are totally different. They might be getting their ass kicked on every ridge they bet on, and that's where I think finding a buck bed and finding a bedding area too. So that was one thing about this particular spot, is there was a massive cluster of beds. It wasn't just like this buck perched up on there, because they use those rocks to their advantage too. Like they can get halfway down a ridge and have all rock above them. And then that way, if something comes on that top third, they won't even see them, like a coyote or something. And they got total visual advantage of the entire bottom. So like they'll use those, and sometimes they'll pop around. I've seen bucks bet on multiple in one morning and be nomadic from day to day. But this was a bedding area, and this was established, right? So that's where it was a little different with that one. So I knew he was going to be more routine, or I anticipated him being more routine.
Right. And so did he have a bunch of beds kind of in the same general area? Like they were all within like throw a baseball to each one of them type of thing?
Yeah, dude. That is actually even closer than that, dude. Because of how these so this was his little perch. It was almost like picture a bench in the middle of a ridge with rocks above it and rocks sprinkled around it, right? Mm-hmm. So, and on this little bench flat was probably I'd probably say 4 or 5 beds, within feet of each other.
Wow.
And then even the main bed was so big because it had been laden in from different positions. So it
Hmm.
was so established. Like it was
Hmm.
one of those things where, and that's what I mean. Like you see a spot like that and you're like, oh dude, I got to be able to shoot this. If I can shoot
Right.
this, and like I said, there was trees that I could get to where I could just shoot that area, and I've killed them like that, literally putting their knees down. I've killed them like that, but it just wasn't it wasn't, I couldn't play my game in those trees. And there was also, a little bit more margin for error. So I
Right.
was aggressive, but also played it safe. But yes, in this particular instance, they were all clustered together, very close. What you're talking about, I see a lot more in grassy, like CRP stuff, to where like you'll see a whole corner of a field, or a whole little um, slice of tenure or something. That's just
Right.
like, he's in different corner this day, different corner that. Like he's inhabiting the whole area, but not like zoned down to one particular bed or one cluster of beds or
Right. And that
um,
cluster bed, was that his secondary bed, or was that the primary one that you found? The
which one?
cluster.
No, that was the primary. Oh,
That was the
that
primary
was the only, actually that was the only beds that I
that,
found.
that you
Um,
found of him.
yeah, I didn't find any secondary points or anything like that. Like when I
Hmm.
went in to scout the next day, as soon as I found that spot, it was just exactly what I was looking for. I'm like, oh dude, this is him for sure. Like
Right.
he was there. He, like, at last light, he popped up over that ridge. It made perfect sense for. I mean, the wind was blowing right up to that cut. He's got the wind blowing right toward him. He's looking down over the bottom. He's hanging out there all day, and then at night he pops up, and then he turns around and works right back up to the top.
Hmm.
And then he was heading out miles out into the open, because that's what they do in this open country. Um, and he'd be browsing whatever, feeding all night, and then he was just making a big horseshoe. And then when he came back, he just, from 2 cuts over, as these cuts come up to the top, from 2 cuts over, he just popped over on that same ridge side. So you could, and then he'd get on that main trail, and then he was essentially walking that whole ridge side. But
Hmm.
those ridge sides are real tough to hunt too, because you either, with the thermals, you getting in the middle of that in all the deer traffic, like with the deer on the bottom and top, it's a pain. So, but in the cut is where, like, you can really get away with some special things, because you got the advantage of the thermal lift, and a spot that they can't actually cross.
Right.
So if you get I love getting those cuts to my back, with a thermal lift, or in the evening, the wind going right in or banking on that cut to pull the thermal, or pull the wind actually the opposite
Right.
direction.
Right.
Um,
Man, it feels good when a plan comes together, right? Whenever
oh,
like
dude,
you see
it's
him and you're like, I think
yeah,
he's doing this, and it's like a slam dunk.
yeah, it's insane, man.
It's
And that stuff again is like, you can't go out there and hunt one time and expect to
yeah,
just put all those pieces together. Like, I mean, you could get lucky if you were some dude who was like big into podcasts, big into listening to people, whatever, but that shit doesn't just happen overnight. Like, you don't just get that
yeah.
type of like, oh, okay, I think he's doing this, and it's just from,
That intuition. It's just like
it's
you've
something
screwed that same scenario up how many times
yeah, yeah,
for you to get to
dude,
the point to where like you now recognize it.
100%. Even I think about it a lot. Like, had I jumped the gun and hunted that bed, I might have got busted, or I might
Right.
have got winded or something, or
And that's
um,
so hard to do, to pull yourself off that sign like that. Like
dude,
that's such a hard thing to do. Like I mean,
yep.
I struggle with it even still. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like where it's like
it's the same thing with primary scrapes, man. So like the scrape is like that freaking, it's that freaking trap, right? It's
yeah.
it's that fucking $100 bill on the ground. You want to go grab that shit, and don't
You
get me
do.
wrong, if it works, hit the scrape. But this is where I'm talking about, play your game on that scrape.
Yeah.
Okay, so we could argue again. Oh, I'm looking for the spot. This spot is the primary scrape. The buck I'm trying to kill is hitting this scrape. This is the spot, and I can even make a wind sort of work for it. Well, let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this whole picture. I would argue that that's probably not the spot. I would argue that there's probably a better spot. And what I would do is think now beyond that. Okay, if he's hitting that scrape, where is he coming from before he hits it, and where's he going after? And what does it look like? And is there a spot that, especially these primary hub scrapes down in these bottoms, guys are getting just freaking just annihilated hunting these. And now it's
Well,
this
there's a
big.
reason why those hub
Well,
scrapes are down there, right? Because it's like that's where all the thermals are dropping. It's like
yeah.
it's almost impossible to hunt because
Well,
you never have a good wind to hunt it.
that shit happens up top too, and like there's a lot of it's a trap, right? It's a seemingly good spot, but it's not a good spot. And that happens all over, I think. I think that happens in transitions. I think that happens in bedding area spots. Anywhere you look, I always, like, if there's one thing to take from it, I always ask myself, all right, where's the better option? And then when I get to the point to where there is no better option, that's my spot. And I just think there's so many people who aren't even taking it to that next level, which is something I like to open the eyes on. And I like to encourage people to think outside the box because that's all I fucking do is think outside the box.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
I'm just gonna say, like, if you think about it, you know, the reason why deer are laying down a ton of sign in a general area, right? They don't lay down a ton of sign in a spot that they feel insecure in, right? And what do we know makes them feel secure? They usually have a wind advantage, right? Like that's what they want, right? Cover and wind advantage, right? So if you've got a primary scrape or whatever the case is, right? Or maybe it's a cluster of beds or whatever it is, right? Like you got to be real confident that you've got the whole scenario figured out to hunt that spot, because the reason why that sign is likely there is because those deer have an advantage in that spot.
it could be, and that changes throughout the year too. So like if this is a pure show of dominance, it could be different. Like, right. So
Right.
if bucks are just freaking going crazy, and you got three bruisers that are marking over each other's scent, then it's a total different situation. But
Right.
yeah, when you're talking, browsing, like transition area, like, oh shit, okay, I'm just gonna freaking just, rub on this tree for a while and chill the fuck out. Yeah, 100%. Like that's a total different. But to that point, both I think can be looked at deeper, right?
Right.
And you still want, ultimately, like my goal, or I think I would argue everybody's goal, you want to be undetected. You want to go undetected and make as smooth and as quick of a kill as you possibly can, which is a lot of the reasons I think, which is why I think it's important that you have your shit dialed with your setup, which is what I call, like, oh, play your game, play my game. I like to sit down. I like to shoot them at the same, I like to have my bow on my lap. So the movement from where I'm, where I decide to shoot to where I execute the shot is so simple and quick and efficient and as least movement as possible. The least chance I'm going to get skylit by anything behind me. The most cover I can have. Just really those little things that make the process easy to make a slam dunk for me. Is what I start to look for.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of gloss over a lot of that, right? Like even if they're doing their due diligence and finding let's just say quote unquote the right tree to be in or whatever, right? It's like that might be the right tree to be in to get a shot opportunity, right? But is it the right tree to execute the shot, right? There's a big difference between that.
For instance, man, 100%. It's why I'm so weird about my stand setup, and that's why I got 3 bow holders on my stand, because I'm like, well, I need to be able to play my game and have my bow set up to where I need it. And if I get into this freaking, if I have to get into a cedar, which I love cedars, but if I get into there and I can't put my bow in the bow holder, I can't have my bow on my lap, I can't do this. I need to be able to adjust, but and that's last resort. That's after I've exhausted all options, but I want, so much thought goes into, so you scout, you find the spot, then you find the best way to capitalize on that spot, which may be going to a different spot, right? This might be thrown, but after you do that, then it's like, okay, here's my tree. This is the actual spot. Now, all right, how do I fucking I need to play my game to a T in this tree. And this is, okay, look, I need to have my stand facing this way so I can sit here. I'll have this. Okay, let me check my backdrop. Okay, I'm not getting skylit. I got my cover there. I am fucking bulletproof. I get up there and I feel it, dude. When I get up there and I get in the position after getting everything set and I got my ball on my lap and I sit there and I visualize it. It fucking all happens right It all happens right in here,
between your ears, between the ears,
between
man.
my
Yep.
fucking ears before it happens, and I visualize it. And when the shit is dialed, I get this like this tingle, man. I get goosebumps, and I'm like, all right, it's fucking on. And that's what I shoot for every time I set up. That doesn't happen when you just, oh, this looks good. Let me toss a fucking stand. And maybe it could for you, but I'm
Right.
just way more. I've always been way more calculated than that. I get that same, feeling when I come up with something that I think is gonna be super efficient too. I'm just like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, like this.
Right.
It's what gets me going. So,
How much?
um,
I'm curious. How much do you? I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm asking anyway. How much do you visualize the hunt? Like,
oh dude,
like
this
the
is
night before, for example, or
we're,
something like
we're
that.
hitting the trifecta, all the hippie shit, right? So we had, what did we
That's
have?
it,
We had
dude. See,
no
this is why
visual,
this is why we get
yeah,
along, man. You know what I mean?
yeah, visualization, man, super super legit, real thing for sure. I know people
Yeah.
are gonna be like, okay, here we go now. First, we're talking about a sixth sense, and we talked about some spirituality shit and being present. Now we're talking about visualization. We are.
Right. Yeah.
So
This is
it,
happening, people.
this is this is happening. We're going there. Um, Dude, it is
It's
scary
huge.
powerful.
Yeah.
It's scary powerful. I will probably say that I can't put out a number. I'll just say very often it happens. And I do that shit most setups, but I can tell a difference from the times where it's like the power visualization for just getting myself in the, because we
In the
all want
mode.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, we all want to, like, okay, we're competing for a marathon, we want to envision ourselves winning, yeah, great. that
Everybody
you know
does.
that,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's one aspect. But the aspect, so where I like to correlate this with is anybody who's a angler or fisherman, dude. I'm taught, like, here's a it makes it more relatable, right? So let's say you're pitching structure or something and you're bass fishing, and you got a line out there. You can't see shit under the water, but you're visualizing it in your mind, and, like, you're like, all right, you're coming over this structure and you're feeling it, and you're just like making your best percent, and you're like, all right, okay, right over this fucking log, right, this is thing, it's gonna drop, that little crawtail is gonna flicker, and just, and you can literally, like, 3, 2, 1, bam, it just hits, like, it's the same shit, the same shit. I do the same
Right.
shit with hunting all the time. It's like, when I find that spot, I play it through. It's almost like you're willing it to happen, and I visualize every single thing. And this is where oh, Cody, how do you know? Like, I do my diligence in scouting because I picked that one trail or those two trails, and then I pick the tree to where I can play my game, and then I visualize it, and I know exactly because I've thought I've thought of the whole scenario in my head already. He comes up, he's bedding here, he gets up, this is what he's doing, he's coming out. I don't know what the hell he's doing over there, but he makes his way down this trail. He's going to walk this ridge, he's probably going to be, do this. He might, eat over here in the acorn for a little bit, and then he's going to, like, all this shit has already been played in my mind. So when I get in the setup, then I visualize the actual act of him walking through, when I'm going to draw, the mannerisms I'm going to wait for, what I intend to see or whatever. And as soon as that opening hits, and it's like, okay, and this right here is where I'm going to shoot him. And when I
Mhm.
say that, like, when I say this, people, like, they, oh, dude, it's so crazy that you can anticipate where, well, no, man, remember, I've picked the tree to shoot him there. I've set up my stand to shoot him there. The whole big picture is set up for me to shoot him there. And now I visualize him walking through. And right when I lose that, right when he loses me in that peripheral is when I'm sending it. And there's times where I've had this visualization process too, and I'm set up in a little bit tougher of an area. I can think of a buck I killed a few years ago to where I had to be set up like there was a straight east wind and I was playing off this bluff. And where the deer was coming from was my weak side. But I was like, the hell if I'm standing, I'm sitting down and playing my freaking game. And knowing that, knowing I'm playing my game, knowing I can be stealthy as a freaking, I can disappear, right? Uh, in the stand and be ready. I'm set up here with the trail at 10 yards to my weak side, and that's where he's coming from. He's going to crest the ridge, and he's going to hit this trail, and then he's going to link off. And my shot is 17 yards. But he's Now, here's a whole different mind fuck. I have to I have to watch him breach motherfucking flies. I have to watch him I I
You
have
got
to
booner
watch
flies out there,
dude,
dude.
I got booner flies out here. I have to watch him come up the ridge, make damn near eye contact with me because I'm 10 feet off the ground. And then I have to sit there while he scopes out this entire flat and he checks it out because this is what he's going to do. And then when he finally when he gives that tail flick and everything's fine, then he gets going onto this trail. I have to let him close the distance 20 yards, walk right by me at 10, clear me to where I clear all his. He is completely clear of any possible visual, but then I have a fucking quartering away shot, right, like I mean, damn near like as good as you could ever want at 17 yards. That's the visualize it. You know, I sat there in that stand and I visualized that happen. And it only took usually it's only one or two times. I'm not like repeatedly visualizing it, but it's like everything. It's the feeling, it's the, you know, like so freaking painfully still. And then, dude, and I am not shitting you. I'm going to start. One thing I wanted to do is start recording these things,
Mhm.
recording the visualization process of like talking to it. Just more shit that gets you out of the fucking moment, though. But I
Yeah.
wanted to visualize talking about it because this is the exact scenario. This is the setup. Okay, I'm right here. This is the trail I'm sitting. And man, I'm not telling you, 25 minutes later, I heard something. I heard a stick break, and I look over, and I see this freaking 165-inch eight, and it's just he's just like just, and his head's there, and then it disappears, and I'm like, oh shit, he's coming, and then he pops up 10 yards closer, and he pops up, and he's just freaking scanning. He's scanning the whole. You know, he's got that crosswind. It's blowing off the bluff. He just popped up from the bottom, and he's gonna go scent check this doe bedding area, and he's just scanning the field, and then flick of the tail, freaking puts his head down, and he's man. I actually posted a video of
Hmm.
this exact thing. It's on my Instagram. He flicks the tail, he comes over and starts meandering, comes all the way up, comes right by me, and in my mind, I'm like, game over. It's already been written, and I
Yep.
freaking smoke him at 17 yards, and he falls. He runs off, and he falls down.
Hmm.
You know, 100 yards away. I could see him before he even got
Right.
breached the timber into the bedding, and I'm just like, dude, the high you get from that shit. But
Yeah,
it's
dude.
real, man. It's real.
Yeah, dude, it is because so this year was the first year that I've really done that, right? Where in it was that deer in Kansas, and I went to bed that night and I visualized it, like a couple different times as I was falling asleep, like how it was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And I thought about it, whenever I went to set up that evening on him. And the weirdest thing is, like, so I'm from Pennsylvania, man, right? Like that's the biggest, well, second biggest deer I've ever been like in bow
The
range
game
of.
with, like,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah,
game with,
yeah,
yeah, in the
yeah,
game
yeah.
with, like 100%.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's not, and being in PA, man, it's like I don't see, even when I see good deer, I don't see deer of that caliber. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And so,
yeah.
but the thing was, like, I didn't get shook like when that deer was coming in, and really think it's because
You were.
I
It happened before,
had
man.
been
Yeah,
I
yeah,
had already
yeah.
been there. You know what I
Yep.
mean? To where it's like it kind of removed like any of the anxiety or the buck fever because I had already seen this all happen already. Like, and so I
Mm-hmm.
just removed any of the doubt. You know what I mean? And just was like, "Yep, this is how it's going to happen. This is what's going to happen next. This is where you're going to draw." Like,
Yep.
and
And
so I
dude,
didn't get like the classic like buck fever that people get whenever they get in close proximity to deer of that caliber.
it's a trippy situation too because sometimes you can almost be outside yourself as it's
Yes.
happening. Like I don't know if
Mhm.
anybody like I'm sure there's people that experience that and I've experienced it multiple different ways, but ultimately I think when you find that perfect blend of, presence, like for instance the buck I shot last year, I don't ever remember being as cued in like and this is what jacks me up to the fullest is like these are fleeting moments, right? So
Mhm.
these happen very quick, and even if it's a 15-minute, which is long, a 15-minute
Mhm.
interaction with a deer over 170 inches or whatever, or a big buck is fucking long, right? So they
Yeah, it's
usually happen
forever.
quick. Um, so I try and like extract every little bit I can on it, but I can think of even the buck I killed last year after visualizing it, visualizing him, dumping down that cut and then hooking up onto this trail and then coming by me. As soon as I seen him, man, I got, with that mindfulness to be present, like dude, what you can take from that moment, and completely separating myself from like why I was there for just 1 second. Like obviously
Mhm.
we are still keyed in, but this is as he's coming in. I specifically remember, this buck had his cage was so big and his tines were so long, and he had no hair on his back, and he was just scratching his back with his tines, and watching him come in, and just watching him look around, watching those ears move, watching him scratch his back, and just ripping that thing, and then he rubbed a tree a little bit, and like just all those freaking. It's almost like you're just like in awe, right? And you're completely present, and time stops, and then it's like you pull yourself out of it at that exact perfect time, and you're just watching every movement until you can capitalize and actually get the kill done. Which is now that's what we're looking for, and that can happen with a buck you've seen, obviously, like, but you add the element of unknown. Like I'm sure the first time you seen that buck after glassing him, because you knew he was good, you knew he's probably
Yeah.
a shooter, but you didn't know what he was. You
No.
didn't know about the little kicker he had or whatever. Or,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like you're like, dude, that right there is a whole nother powerful aspect that like just brings you right there. To whereas you're not sitting in a stand like, oh, here's Johnny. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have 7,000 pictures of Johnny. He has a little tiny extra point on his base, and he has a split on his two, and
Yeah.
we estimate him to be 164 inches and 3/8. No,
Right.
it's not like that. That's bullshit. This is like when you see those times, you're like, what is this? Holy shit! What is
Well,
this?
that's
What
just
is
it.
this?
Like when I saw him, like my immediate thought was, like I was like to your point, man. I was so dialed in that when I saw, because I knew he was with two does, and so I saw the first doe. She kind of crept up on me, and then like I was like, I'm not sure if that's him or not because he was with two does, and I kind of like looked behind me a little bit, and I saw a second doe, and immediately as soon as I saw the second doe, I knew it was him. Yeah, I knew he was with them. I didn't see him yet, and so then I finally saw him kind of like come out of like this CRP into like this cut bean field as he was making his way like toward like this patch of CRP that I was in. I could just see his frame. Like it was, the sun was starting to go down and the sun was coming like through his frame. So it wasn't
Oh,
like I could
dude,
count points or
what
anything.
the
I could just
hell,
see frame, and I
dude?
immediately was like, in my mind, I was immediately like, that's a shooter. I'm killing him. You know what I mean? I was pretty sure it was the same deer, but I was like, I'm killing that deer. And then it was just about like picking the right opportunity to draw and take the shot and stuff like that. And I never looked at his rack again. Like I never looked at it. It was all, I was so dialed on what he was doing and what the
Yeah.
two does were doing to figure out like to not get busted. Right. I'm on the ground in a ghillie jacket and just watching what they were doing to figure out where the opportunity was going to be optimal. Right. And I remember, and this was the craziest thing because like I remembered like every detail of taking the shot. I remember drawing. I remember like, because he started following this doe and I had to stop him, and he stopped. And when he stopped, he jerked his shoulders toward me, which is why instead of getting a center like broadside shot, I put it through his front shoulder and like out the other shoulder because I had to just like quick kind of change my float, and I remember every bit of it. Watch the arrow go through, like the whole nine, right? It's like I was so dialed, I remembered every little detail that happened, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that was the coolest. That was the coolest thing, was just like to be able to go back and like replay that and have like every memory of it be so vivid.
See, that's where like I 100% know what you're coming from, and I feel like I've it's almost different now because I know what you're talking about, and that's like you're almost present in a tactical, calculated way,
Mm-hmm.
like, and because that's how I typically am too, and but the weirdest thing is like with the shot for me, it's always been I can never remember anything about the shot. I've always kind of shot a compound instinctively,
Mm-hmm.
which is weird. But like even now for like this last kill with the trad bow with this buck that comes up, and I'm fully in it, and it was weird because when I was anticipating it being very rhythmic, like, but that's the greatest beauty about instinctive shooting a bow like this too, is that you don't you you can almost lose all that too, and you're just there, right?
Right.
And dude,
Right.
like I remember after shooting him thinking to myself like, there's an old Bruce Lee saying where like he talks about like you need to be water, right? You need to like
Mm-hmm.
react, right? Like you're just, and that's how I felt, man. It was like I was just fucking gliding there, and I'm watching everything, And I'm everything from like, I'm analyzing, he had that like red bark all caked in his freaking bases, and he's coming through and he's itching his back and whatever. And it was just like this fluid, like not a thought in the world. Like as soon as he just like looking where the arrow wanted to go, arrow goes right there, deer is gone. Like just insane. And that's what I hope you get this year too, is just
that
getting
experience
lost
with
in it, man.
with the
I mean,
longbow.
it's like, well, it's like it what it does is it removes a couple more layers from it.
Well, that's just it, man. Like someone was asking me at one point, why I wanted to, essentially make it harder on myself, right? Was what they were asking essentially. And I said, I don't really view it as like making it harder for myself. My goal really is as I'm evolving as a hunter and getting better as a hunter, right? I'm trying to remove the layers between me and what I'm chasing as much as I can, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, and that's what it is for me is trying to make it more intimate, right? And so let's remove like another mechanical piece and try to get me even closer, more closely connected. And the way I kind of described it was like, I don't know if you do this or not. We're both a little bit hippy dippy sometimes, so you might do this. But when I go places, right, like Kansas is an example, or like the Plains States, or if I'm in Colorado, or if I'm in Idaho, or I'm hunting elk in Montana or whatever, I'll be standing somewhere where I can see a good ways, and I'll just stop and think, to myself, I'm wondering if I'm looking at the same thing that someone looked at 500 years ago. I wonder if someone stood here and is looking at the same thing, right? And then I'll wonder, like, when I shoot a deer, did people 300 years ago, 400 years ago, whatever it is, did they feel the same way I feel? Do I have the same feeling? And like, I've always kind of come back to like, well, probably kind of. But what I'm chasing is trying to get as close to maybe what they experienced as I possibly can. And so it's like, can I remove pieces from me? Can I do it where I don't know that the deer is there? Can I just find it? Can I do it with like primitive equipment? So I have to get even closer and get closer to what that experience was. And that for me is kind of what I'm chasing is to like be as grounded and as rooted and as connected to the ground as I possibly can.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with removing the layers, right? And like you said, stripping it away, all it does is it amplifies the experience, and it makes it a total different experience too. Like I don't correlate much. I don't think much about past versus now, what it's like, because they were so much different. But I do think that there is a period in time, or I think the connection it gives us to what is in our actual DNA, like us as hunters and gatherers and whatever, and like, could you get the same? Well, I don't know. I love foraging too, but like, going out and finding something you can eat outside and just cutting it out of the ground, like a mushroom or picking berries, like, dude, that's a super fucking fulfilling experience. Like, it's not. I don't think it's as invigorating as the hunt, but you get a little connection there too, and it's so I think like this pastime of hunting or sport or whatever you want to call it, because we don't, I guess, technically need to do it, but it's such a grounding factor for us as humanity, I think, to still keep in touch with, especially with how disconnected we're getting with all the technology and shit, is like, that's why I want to take, I almost feel like we need to remove layers, because now that, it's sad to say, but like hunting is, it won't, before we know it, hunting won't be hunting. And it already is kind of not hunting, and there's, I encourage anybody to get out and experience the outdoors and like get in the wild and stuff and hunt, and whatever. If you're hunting off there's a bunch of different ways you can do it, right? But really, like, what we're trying to get out of this, you just get more from the experience that we're looking for, right? And it's oh, man, I had a line of thought too about what you said about not making it harder on yourself, because like it is harder in a sense, but it's it changes the whole experience. I can't think of where I was going to go with that, but
I mean, hard is it's a subjective term, right? Like
Yeah.
some people would view it as hard. I don't view it as hard necessarily.
Mm.
I view it as like a new skill that I'm acquiring, and that's always takes some time in a process.
There's
You know what I
growing
mean?
pains
Like,
and difficulties in the process
yeah.
for sure. But honestly, dude, I think that is one of the most rewarding things about it too. And
Yeah.
you love a challenge. I'm the same way. Like I like getting my ass kicked a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes, I come down to, I say it all the time. It ain't the fucking deer that we shoot that keeps us going and makes us deer hunters. It's the deer that we fucked up on. It's the deer that we couldn't get. It's the suffering that makes us
Mm-hmm.
love deer hunting.
Yeah.
Now,
Because
there's a lot of
that's such a
people that
good.
don't realize that, but it is.
Yeah, it's such a good way to look at it because if it was about the deer that we killed, when you killed a couple really good ones, you wouldn't do it anymore.
No,
Because
I
you know what
mean,
I mean. It's like you'd
yeah,
be like, oh, what else am I going to do, right? Like especially
yeah.
if you're a guy who's killed like a couple 400 inch or a couple 200 inch deer.
Oh
It's like, well,
shit,
what?
four
Yeah,
hondos.
yeah, 400. Look out! All of a sudden, I put elk
I'm like,
antlers on those things.
damn, yeah, holy shit. It's
The
like, fuck.
yeah, so, guy who's killed maybe a couple 200 inch deer. It's like why would you continue to do it if it was about the deer? Because at that point, like chances are you won't match that most
Yeah.
likely. You know what I mean?
And your goal can be to keep shooting those, or find a bigger one, or
Sure.
find
Yeah.
or shoot a world record or whatever, and that's cool. And I think, so I think it's about that to a sense, but the act of deer hunting, like the addiction that you get from it, and the reason you
Mhm.
can't just hang it up. Like, dude, if we could all just walk out there and smoke the first buck we see and it was a giant, there would be nothing to it. It's like the old adage of like, oh, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
Well, some people do. Some things are easy, and a lot of people do them, but it's not the connection. But I do think there's this association with pain and suffering a little bit that goes into it too, because it
Mhm.
is a grind,
Yeah.
and
Well, it's like the
it's like
same
that
thing whenever you
bittersweet.
have a group of guys that suffer together, or like the SEALs or whatever. Like you have a group of guys that suffer through, or a group of don't have to be guys, just a group of people that suffer through something
Yeah,
together to reach a
yeah.
goal.
Why's it
It's
gotta
like
be
they're
guys, man?
yeah.
No,
I'm sorry,
I'm
man.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, dude. Even training, dude. You
Yeah.
freaking roll with a dude for a couple months. You got a
Hmm.
bond that's way closer than you did prior to that. 100%.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing, dude. Like the guys that I train with, it's like there's definitely like a bond with each other that we have, that like a closeness that we have that's like it's a brotherly kind of thing, right? Where it's like we give each other shit all the time, but we have a lot of respect for each other. Even if like my buddy Zach, he's a savage. I've learned a ton from him. He's taken a lot of time, like aside from class, like with me and like go over things with me because we have a very similar style. He was a Division I wrestler. I wrestled growing up, so it's like, he took me aside when I was new and was just like, hey, you're gonna make a lot of the same mistakes I make. I can tell you're into this, like, so let me help you, like, and show you some of the stuff that I did wrong and try to help expedite you. He murders me still, but he has a respect for me because it's like I go through the suck with him, even though he can kill me. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's like almost like your little brother type thing, right? It's like, hey, I can beat the shit out of my little brother, but you can't. You know what I mean? Type of thing. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how we have as a group because we all go through the suck together. I think there's something to that with you're saying with bow hunting is that there's a lot of parts of it that suck. You know what I mean? Like that's just the reality of it, right? And that's kind of what, when you invest that much and you have like the hardships, it's just, man, it makes the successes or the experiences like that much sweeter when they come,
Yeah, yeah. And
So
removing those layers too, and like, adding that extra effort of difficulty or just adjustment. It does it more.
yeah, yeah. Well, shit, dude, we've been jamming for like 2 hours here, man. I want to make sure I give you time to go get your shockers aligned and whatnot, since we're all hippy dippy up in this piece, dude.
Yeah, I'm gonna go put a couple needles in it.
Right. And but before you get out of here, dude,
Late for
let
my
people know.
acupuncture appointment.
Right. Yeah.
No.
Nice. Let people know where they can find out, what you got going on this year, and then also like all the gear and all the stuff you have going on.
Yeah, man, this is always the weirdest part of the podcast. Well,
I know, right?
if you want to find out what I'm doing or see me or follow me, or care about any of that, my Instagram is going to be the main spot to do so. So that's Dying Breed Bow Hunter on Instagram, and This year I think we're going to release the first vlog September 1st, but I'm starting the in-season vlogs up. So my YouTube channel is just same thing, Dying Breed Bow Hunter, but we're going to have vlogs in there throughout the season, and I'm going to try and connect with everybody so I don't have to do it when I'm hunting. I'm going to do it like in the middle, right? So every week I'm going to do this big deep dive into what's going on for the week, upload some of my footage that I get, and we'll do that. So that'll be cool. So if you're interested in that, follow there. Lone Wolf Custom Gear, tree stand, sticks, all the gear. You know, if you're a mobile hunter, that's where you want to go. So you can custom gear on Instagram, lonewolfcustomgear.com, all that. And yeah, like my Womo stuff, Mobile Hunter Roadshow, that's all on Instagram as well. And if you want to pick up some Dying Breed apparel, that's I think there's a link on my Instagram for that too.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, dude, it's always good having you on, brother. I always enjoy talking to you. We have a lot of the same kind of philosophies. I always look forward to, the time we get to spend chopping it up. Wish we lived closer together so we could do it more often.
If we lived close together, we'd be training for sure. We
would be. Yeah. Yeah, we would be.
But yeah, dude, I enjoy it, man. I look forward to talking to you soon. Hopefully you get something down early, and then hopefully we can have a early season podcast about how we both slammed and visualized the giant going down.
That's it. Let's visualize that and make it happen. How's that?
All right, let's do it.
All right, folks, that is a wrap for today's show. I'd like to thank all of you for listening. And if you haven't yet, please head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast. And hell, while you're at it, head over to YouTube and give us a sub there too. And before I shut this thing down, we need to give a big shout out to our partners who continue to help us make this podcast possible. Osseo Gear, Tethered, Exodus Outdoor Gear, and Genesee Beer. And until next time, we'll see y'all.